Hey guys, welcome to today's reading. So today's topic is very open-ended. We're going to get some messages from Spirit and just let whatever needs to come through come through. These could be urgent messages about your life, about the direction you need to take, about your future self, whatever your guides, angels, ancestors, your higher self wants you to know. That's what we're going to be channeling today. So yeah, think of a topic that you want some clarity on and tune into this as you go into the reading and pick your card. If you're new over here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Basically, you're going to see which of these cards is sticking out to you, calling your name, drawing your attention in towards it, and then as soon as you make up your mind, just scroll down to the timestamps in the comments and the description and jump right into your pile. By the way, if you like how I read tarot and you want to see more of it, then be sure to head to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. There are over 150 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. I just posted a reading about what everyone thinks of your relationship, also what the next chapter of your life looks and feels like. There's a message to give you comfort and your ancient powers and gifts, what your boss and coworkers think of you, but there are so many different topics. I couldn't possibly go through all of them. So if you're interested in that, head on over to my Patreon and check out all the individual readings I've done for that. And also, like I said, you get to be the first to watch my YouTube videos. So the link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description for Patreon, and I would love to see you there. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, whether you're looking for a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading, whether you want it to be focused on tarot, astrology, channeling, mediumship, a combination, you get to really customize your time with me, so it's the perfect reading for you. If that sounds good, then head to my website. Link is in my description for briarrosetarot.com. So thanks for watching, guys. If you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile one. Hey, pile one, welcome to your reading. So today you got benefactor, grace and generosity, winter's dream, gestation period, feast of plenty, choices and their consequences, and stranger curiosity. So the message I'm getting from you guys is actually about biding your time. Like, it is okay to take longer to get something done, and don't let other people's pressures get to you. So it's almost like, I think sometimes when someone says they're going to do something, people expect them to like do it right then. Like, it's like, we often, and we're also impatient towards ourselves with that, right? Like, we can get so frustrated with spirit being like, oh my God, I hate this job, and why am I stuck here? And this is so incredibly hard. Like, I hate my boss is toxic. And I feel like with this benefactor, grace and generosity, it's almost like accept help when it's offered. And by that I mean, it's like, imagine someone knows they're going to quit a job. But the boss, like, it wouldn't really necessarily behoove them to just decide to randomly start screaming in the office and throw something at the boss and like storm out and be like, I quit. Like, that would probably be a really fun, dramatic moment, but actually probably the best strategy is to continue to be cordial to that boss. If the boss is like, hey, do you want to get lunch together? Being like, yeah, let's get lunch together. Even if they don't like them, even if they can't stand them. Like, if the boss says, well, do you want me to write you a good recommendation? Being like, that would be awesome, thank you. And being polite, being cordial. This is almost like an energy of being strategic. And it's funny, I literally never connected this in my mind. Wow, this is like a light bulb moment for me, because spirit just flashed Libra in my mind. And I swear, I was just thinking the other day about the Justice card and how it relates to legal issues and also how it's ruled by Libra. And I was like, why is Libra ruling legal issues? Like, that just seems so crazy to me, because Libra is the sign of peace and harmony, and then legal issues are so stressful. I've worked in law and it can be very oppositional and like arguing. And then it's like, that's why, because Libra, being a diplomat, will often serve you so well in legal issues. I've worked in family law, and like, the judges really hate when someone's coming in like fighting about everything. And, oftentimes, like, the best strategy in general is to be a Libra about it, to be diplomatic, to be like looking at things with a long-term plan instead of just coming in hot rushing into it and letting your emotions get the best of you, you know, and actually that will take you further. And that's why Libra is a sign of politicians, of diplomats. And yeah, it does connect through the tarot with legal issues with the Justice card. So it makes now, wow, that was like a light bulb moment because I'm always wondering about that. And yeah, Libra is the energy that's going to talk you down. They're not going to say like, yeah, someone treated you bad, punch them. Libra is going to be like, hey, just relax about it. Try to get along with them. And I almost feel like that's the message I'm getting for you guys. And especially with like giving yourself that permission. Maybe you're getting pressure from other people who are like, well, why haven't you dumped him yet? Or, well, why haven't you quit that job yet? Or like, if you said you were going to do it, you need to do it. Just do it. And it's like, maybe you feel like, well, I need to take time and I need to be strategic and I need to plan this out. But sometimes when we're in that planning energy, it really does feel like nothing is happening. You know, it feels like, am I actually going to ever quit this job? Right now I'm stuck. Right now I haven't heard back from any of the job resume applications that I sent out for. Or am I gonna break up with my boyfriend? I mean, I go back and forth about it, but maybe I should just stay. And it feels like nothing is happening. And sometimes you just have to like trust that process. Or maybe we make the decision to break up, but like, we're going to be polite with them. We're going to keep it cordial with them. You know what I mean? We're not going to like blow things to smithereens and like say the worst things ever and then block them and never talk to them again. Maybe we can just like accept whatever kindness and keep things going, because sometimes you don't have the space to just be super chaotic. Sometimes you have to like play it nice, play it cool, and just, like I said, be very Libra, be very diplomatic. I almost feel like that's the energy I'm getting. And like I said, being okay with yourself of like, some things take time. We got the winter's dream gestation period card, and gestation is literally the process of like a woman being pregnant. That's that period when a woman is pregnant. So it's like, imagine if a woman had told you she was pregnant, you wouldn't be asking her like one day later, like, you said you were pregnant, so where's the baby? You said you were pregnant 10 minutes ago, but where's the baby? You're lying. You said you were pregnant 1 week ago, so there's no baby. You must not be telling the truth. That means no baby's coming. But we kind of treat ourselves that way, right? Like, we understand that with pregnant women, it takes 9-10 months to birth a new life, which is like the most miraculous thing a human can do. And we're like, okay, we get that. But someone might be doing something equally, well, not equally, because I do think like that is a pretty special thing, but someone might be doing something that's incredibly miraculous on their own level, like leaving a toxic relationship behind, or they're quitting a job, or they're moving, and all those things sometimes take time to plan. All those things can sometimes take time to have a strategy, to execute, to make it happen. And sometimes people will be like getting on your ass when they're like, I don't see progress. I don't see you taking action. I just know you were all talk. I knew you weren't going to leave him. I knew that you weren't going to quit that job. And we can even do that to ourselves. We can get down on ourselves being like, I hated this job 6 months ago and now I'm still stuck here. But understand that as long as you're working on it, as long as you're carrying that plan in mind, then you will get there. It does take time. All good things take time. Like I said, you know, imagine what's going inside a woman when she's pregnant. All these complex processes, building this new child's brains and lungs and fingers and toes and hips and bones and teeth and all of it, right? All of it is being built, all their little organs, everything. It's so incredibly, insanely complex. And you can't see any of it. All you can see is like, oh, her stomach's getting a little bit bigger, but that's all you get to see. But there is something happening on the inside. And by the same token, I just feel like you have to give yourself a little bit of grace and a little bit of space, and don't expect it to look a certain way. I think sometimes we all can put pressure on ourselves, like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to publish this book because I've been working on it for, 6 months and I've barely written 10% of it, or I'm not getting that far, or I've sent out my application and no one's responded, or I'm trying to make XYZ happen and I'm not making progress. I really want to quit my job, but it's been 3 months and I'm still stuck here. Or I think I need to leave my relationship, but we have so many mutual friends and I can't really leave. And I feel stuck. And it's like the message is give yourself grace with that. And also, I honestly think the message with this benefactor card is like, it's okay to receive generosity. It's okay to keep things cordial. It's okay to still be nice to your toxic boss, even if you know damn well you're going to quit. Sometimes that's the best way to go about it because that's using strategy. Like I worked in family law, and I will say, I think the people who had the best divorces were the most strategic, the ones who planned it out, the ones who went in knowing exactly, having a plan, fully informed about everything. And the people who would probably have the sloppiest or worst divorces were the ones who were just like running off emotion, super angry at one thing, and so they like acted right away. Sometimes it takes time to get your ducks in a row whenever you're going to go in and do something, and I feel like that's kind of what's coming through with you. So I don't know. I feel like there's two messages. Maybe you've been feeling constrained by time or blaming yourself like, I haven't done this in time. That means it's not going to happen. That means I'm not going to take action. And I feel like the message is be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some understanding and be open to whatever comes next on this path you're on with the universe, because the universe has different ways of making it happen. If you're holding that intention in your head and you're really manifesting it, trust and believe it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And you might have to go through a little bit of a period of stillness before it actually takes place. It's like this says winter's dream, right? Because the time I guess that they're comparing pregnancy to is like winter, because that's kind of like the earth being pregnant, and then like spring is like when the earth gives birth, right? Maybe that's why Mother's Day is in the spring. It's always like in the spring or summer, I think, around the world, because like that's like the birth. That's like the time when like the world gives birth to all those flowers that have been gestating in spring and winter. Okay, but like that's the thing. You can't see anything happening under the surface, and if you really were just to like go off like the day-to-day look, you'd be like, okay, all the trees are still bare. Everything is still cold. There's still snow on the ground, or there's still totally dead grass. It's always going to be like this. Nothing's going to change, but something powerful is shifting under the surface. And I feel like that's what's happening for a lot of you guys. You're changing your life. You're making some kind of huge fundamental change. So give yourself grace with it. Don't expect it to happen tomorrow or in 2 hours. And if it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. And let yourself fall into like panic. Understand like you're building this. You're taking it. It's taking time. You're building it brick by brick, right? Like if you're going to build a huge mansion, you're not going to expect it to be built like tomorrow. It's like, I used to bring this up and I think I haven't mentioned it in a while, but you know that show way back in the day, Extreme Makeover Home Edition? They used to take like needy families and they would build them a new house, but of course it was being filmed for television, so they wanted to make it like as quick as possible so they didn't have to pay extra filming days. So instead of taking months or years to build these homes, they would build them in like 7 days. And there were apparently so many problems, like so many of the people that had these houses would later say like, oh, there was like electrical issues, or there was leaks, or the roof wasn't fully secure, or like the foundation was shaky, like crazy stuff happening with these houses. And it's because they tried to build a house in 7 days. And the truth is, if you're really going to build a house, especially a big, beautiful house with like a pool or a hot tub or all the crazy stuff they were putting on for this show, then yeah, it's going to take a while. And that's how you make sure that the foundation is fully settled and that the walls are secure and that you checked and double checked and triple checked the plumbing and the electrical, right? That's how you make sure that house looks good. So again, don't let other people like rush you. Don't let yourself get in your head and be like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. Nothing's shifting. Nothing's changing. I feel trapped. I feel stuck. You can feel that way, but it's not the reality. And you have to kind of mentally check yourself and be like, maybe I'm just like freaking out about this. But if you are taking steps in those directions and genuinely taking steps, then that's all you can do. And trust and believe. If you hold that manifestation in your mind, it will happen. But be open to the process. I also feel like with stranger curiosity and benefactor, again, be open to people who want to help you. Be open to like the way the universe kind of comes through magically and will like put people in your path to help you. It reminds me of that quote from The Alchemist of the universe is conspiring in your favor. And if you have that attitude, it's like accept that help. I also think sometimes people can be too like rigid. It could be someone saying, like, I've heard girls tell stories about this where they'll be like, yeah, like my ex offered when we broke up, he offered because I was broke. So he offered to pay for the rest of my year's rent for my apartment. But I turned him down because like I wasn't going to accept any help from him and he felt guilty about cheating. And so I wasn't going to do that. I was going to like stand on my own 2 feet. And it's like, I totally understand the mentality. I totally understand like the thought process and I get it. But I feel like here Spirit is saying, hey, don't be afraid to accept that help. Like, this is the thing, is like, I also think we have a weird mentality sometimes around it where it's like you have to prove that you're done or that you're over it or you have to send some message. The reality is all you have to do is be willing to receive and build the best life for yourself and be open whatever way that comes through. So if your ex feels guilty for cheating and he wants to buy you like an amazing purse or pay your rent for a year, I mean, I would say just take that deal. Like, honestly, I would be like signing those papers in a millisecond. But honestly, I think that you have to be kind of selfish, like honestly, when I worked in family law, I saw that a lot with women where they would make very emotional decisions about like what they wanted to do. Like they would be like, no, you know what? Yeah, I could ask for more child support, but I don't want to do that. I want to get along with him and I don't want to be mean. And it's like, okay, but the child support is for the children and you should be making decisions that empower you and empower your kids. And that's the best financial choice you can make. And I guarantee you, by being nice or by being sweet, you're not going to really change the outcome of like your relationship. Like the relationship is done, right? So of course you don't want to like throw gasoline on the fire, but like you are entitled to that child support and you should be willing to receive it. And I feel like a lot of times, especially women, kind of internalize ideas of like not being good enough, or I don't want to be a gold digger, or I have to be this really kind, sweet, nice, hardworking. I don't want to be like a bad woman and receive too much. Not to go on a conspiracy theory, but this is my ADHD because I feel like I'm just tangenting, but I want to say this. I do feel like some of the hatred towards like Meghan Markle and Lauren Sanchez, and I get it, they both done controversial things, said controversial things. I'm not saying I'm like a huge fan of either, but I also think some of the hate that they've gotten is both because they're both kind of like selfish women, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I feel like they're both willing to receive. You could call them both gold diggers, you could call them social climbers, but at the same time, it's like they knew what they wanted, they went after it, and they got it, and they weren't afraid to ask for it. And in a way, I feel like women react so strongly to them because so many women are afraid to do that. So many women have this value judgment around like being the hardest working one in their family and never taking a handout or being a good girl. And that means I do it all on my own. And so if I, got a purse from my ex, then I'm a user or I'm a gold digger. Or if, if an opportunity comes up, and I don't know, like, I'm not saying put yourself in a vulnerable situation, but say like someone gets a job interview at a company and they know like the boss kind of has a crush on them and they're like, I'm never going to do anything. And obviously, hopefully this guy isn't pressuring them or making them uncomfortable, but they know the guy has a crush on them and they're like, oh, I don't want to use him having a crush on me because that would be bad. You know what I mean? I just feel like a lot of women box themselves in to like being in a limited position because they're afraid to just receive with no strings attached. They always feel like they have to give. I've heard this too. So many women will say, I never want a guy to pay on the first date because I feel like I owe him something. And I'm always like, okay. Or he'll think I owe him something and I'm like, okay, like who cares if he thinks that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it wouldn't bother me what he thinks. Like, I know I don't owe him anything. I think it's like a standard for a guy to pay on the first date, but a lot of women have these kind of hangups where they feel like if they just receive, then it's bad. And honestly, that is also a huge block towards abundance and having a beautiful life. When you feel like you can't receive, when you feel like you have to earn everything, when you feel like if someone is kind to you or nice to you, you have to reciprocate that same energy and it's not enough for you to just get it on your own, then that's going to block abundance. So my point in all this message for pile one, I hope it's not too convoluted, but basically like allow things to take time, allow things to unfold, and don't be afraid to receive in the meantime. Don't be afraid to allow things to just flow for you and work out for you and work out in your favor. And don't feel like you always have to be like doing things a certain way or giving so much. And if there's something you can tap into that makes your life a little bit easier in that process, hey, don't be afraid to do that. I honestly think like the number one theme for women that so many women have been like programmed not to even think of is like thinking about what works for you. Like seriously, what works for you? What will make you happy? How can you benefit? What is going to be the biggest blessing for you? And then doing that. Again, I could make a whole video about my time working in family law and so many of the things I saw, but I truly believe so many women have hangups around like being a gold digger to the point where it actually financially disadvantages them so severely. I can't tell you the number of times women would walk into my office. It wasn't my law office. It was our law office, and I was like a lowly legal assistant. But I did a lot of the client intake. So I would be talking to them and like, you know, interviewing them alongside the lawyers. Anyway, and so much of the time, they would not have any clue of like the money situation. Like the area we worked in, there was a lot of wealthy stay-at-home moms. And it was also in the South. So there were a lot of Christians. And I don't know if that tapped it off, but like there were so many women that they would have no idea what was in the bank accounts. They would have no idea about how much their husband got for the Christmas bonus, and they thought it was a lot of money. Maybe it was 100,000, but I don't know. They had no idea about any of the investments, and sure enough, a lot of times we'd go in to check and like the accounts were drained, you know, or we'd be like, okay, well, can you find out? And then it would say nothing in the accounts because this woman had no idea. And anyway, that happened so many times. And I do feel like a lot of the reason why was a lot of women were kind of like, oh, I don't want to be grabby. I don't want to ask him. I don't want to be too like greedy, you know? And they had this whole attitude towards money of that. Instead of thinking about like what was going to be safe for them because they were at a financial risk being a stay-at-home mom, they would be way more worried about like not annoying their husband and not seeming money grabby and not seeming greedy, even though their husband was being the greedy one because he was the one clearing the account, right? And like stealing and hiding money. And literally, not to make it into a gender war, but we never once had to have that conversation with a male client where we were like, what's going on with the money situation? And he had no idea. And I think my wife got a huge Christmas bonus, but I don't really know. She doesn't tell me. Like every time the men knew about all the finances. So anyway, not to make it into a gender thing, but I do feel like there is a cultural message sent to women that they have to like perform and earn and give and give and give. And the message I want to give you guys, pile one, that's coming through is like, don't be afraid to receive. Don't be afraid to think about what benefits you. Don't be afraid to prioritize yourself above a lot of other people, you know? And so if you're feeling any kind of restriction with that, if you feel any guilt with that, if it's hard for you, if someone says, hey, I want to like bring you over a piece of cake, and your reaction is like, okay, and I'll bake you a cake too, and I'll do something for you back, and let me make sure I take care of this for you, then that might be a block you're experiencing, and that can block your ability to access abundance. Let me get into some tarot cards for you. Pile number one. What messages do we have for pile one? So we have the Five of Wands, the Two of Cups, the High Priestess. Spirit is telling me something that's going on in your life. It feels like it might be an ending, and Spirit is saying you've known it was going to end for a really long time, and don't freak out about it. Like, it's okay. It's happening how it's supposed to. It's not a bad thing. Four of Wands. Queen of Wands. Four of Cups. Ooh, the Magician and the Emperor. So you're more powerful than you realize. I think you are a really incredible manifester, Pile 1. You guys are incredible at manifestation. And I actually think whatever is happening, like I said, even if it is an ending and you're a little bit feeling scared or sad about it, I feel like this is something you have been manifesting for a long time. This is something you have wanted for a really long time, and it's finally happening, and you should be looking at it as a good thing. And I am hearing from Spirit, you're going to get everything you want. So that reassuring message is something you really need to hear, Pile 1. You need to know that like you're good and this is happening for your best and highest good. It's interesting with the Fool card here because I don't know, the Fool card in this time, he looks to me in this card like he's being kicked off the ledge. It almost looks like that's a foot coming out and like kicking him. I've never thought that about any other Fool card. And with the Fool reverse, I almost feel like there's a fresh start you're being called to that you're a little bit scared of and you're a little bit nervous about. And I feel like that message is you need to like embrace it. This is a good thing. This is happening in the way you want. And actually you're going to look back later and be like, this was the biggest and best blessing. And I'm so happy it happened. With the Four of Cups, this is like a gift from Spirit. This is a beautiful thing. And I feel like Spirit is also telling me something about like you don't even understand how much more attractive this makes you in general. Like people, if you're single, people are going to be checking for you. People are going to be noticing you. People are going to be like asking for your number, okay? Because you are turning into this Queen of Wands combined with the High Priestess. And I feel like you don't even realize how much new opportunity you're stepping into. You don't even realize how powerful you are. I do feel like you're going to have to harness that Five of Wands energy. So like coming at it with power, coming at it, like I said, with a selfish energy. And like I was saying with Lauren Sanchez and Meghan Markle, I think that's why both of them manifested like crazy, insane lives because they're selfish. And people will talk about them and be like, Meghan Markle is so selfish and she's such a gold digger. And it's like, maybe she is selfish. I mean, she kind of does give off that vibe, but it's like, that's gotten her everything she wanted, right? That's who gets it. Like the person who asks gets it. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to hold out for what you want. Don't be afraid to say, no, not for me, when someone's giving you a subpar offer. I'll never forget, I think it was Kris Jenner, the great philosopher Kris Jenner, who said something like, when someone tells you no, find someone else and keep asking until you find someone who says yes. And she said that's how she got, you know, the Kardashians, when you think about their journey from being like D-list reality stars and stars of like a sex tape into like A-list billionaires, that's how, because she would just ask until someone said yes and agreed to do what she wanted. And I mean, it obviously worked. Whatever you think of women like that, you know, they're not afraid to ask for what they want. And that's why they get what they want. And that's why they get all the things. And, you know, the nice girls kind of get less in the dust. Let me pull another card for you, pile number 1. Light Dancer, Illumination, the Radiant Self, Shining Soul. Ooh, I feel like you're about to step into your power, Pile 1. You're about to become the highest and best version of yourself. This beautiful shining soul, this beautiful, bright, radiant version of you. If you felt a little downtrodden, if you haven't felt like your best version of yourself, if you have felt less than lately, if you have felt like a tireder, more, you know, run down version, it's important to also pay attention to like, yeah, how you feel and what makes you feel that way. Like if you've been feeling run down, that's a huge sign from your nervous system as well. That's a huge sign that this isn't for you. And the right things for you are going to make you feel activated, alive, happy, joyful. So we also got Sacred Journey, Introversion, Seeker, Self-Knowledge. This one is the Full Moon Temple, Celebration, Peak, Transcendent Moment. Wow, so this is a transcendent moment for you, Pile 1. And finally, the Liminal Dance, Delicacy, Fragility, Transience. So also, yeah, it's interesting. This looks like Stonehenge. And one of the major beliefs of the ancient Celts and Druids was about threshold moments, which were like moments of transition. If you think about it, like the ancient Celts and Druids, they were in northwestern Europe and like probably nowhere on the planet. I mean, a few other places maybe, but I mean, no one does seasons like Northwest Europe. Like, no one has the intensity of days that literally are pitch black, dark as midnight at 4 p.m. and freezing cold in the winter. And then during the summer, the sun stays out until like 10 or 11 p.m., right? Like Northwest, and the summer is so beautiful and so lush and so warm and perfect, right? Like there's something about seasons that really goes into the ancient religion and spirituality of Northwestern Europeans. They really believe strongly in these thresholds and in like seasonal moments and in endings, and how that's very sacred. And that's also why they worshipped, or all their like holy celebrations were around the solstice, because it was the shortest or the longest days of the year. And that's how we now have Christmas, because they just stole it from the Druids. Like literally all the freaking traditions. I always think that's so funny how like they didn't even change anything. But anyway, all that to be said, they really believed it was a sacred moment, a threshold moment when there was one transition to the other. Maybe it's because, again, the seasons were so intense. So like they believed that the transition from like summer into fall was a sacred moment. But yeah, I feel like that's what you're going through. Like you're entering a threshold moment. You are leaving something behind and stepping into your new destiny. And this is so, so powerful. And it's a really beautiful thing. We have a lot of energy around celebration. We have a lot of cards around having a moment that's so powerful. So don't be afraid of this moment in your life. Don't see it as like, oh my gosh, this is so scary or frightening, or I don't know if I'm ready. You are absolutely ready. You have been manifesting this for the longest time, and it is high time that you actually fully step into it. So yeah, I feel like your guides are just cheering you on. They're so excited. They're so happy for you to like leave some of this stuff behind and to step into your new destiny. Let me get into these cards for you. Pile number 1. Messages for pile 1. So we have dance. Allow yourself some fun each day, just as the sun dances with the moon each night. Some final messages for pile 1, spirit. Adventure. Live wild and free. Strength. When your roots are deep, you need not fear the storm. Flow. Go with the flow as water trickles down a stream. Do not hurry. I love that one. And yeah, I feel like that's the thing. You're learning just to flow. You're learning to go with the flow. You're learning to kind of let go and allow spirit to take you where it wants to take you. Again, imagine, speaking of, maybe that's why the seasons are coming up, and imagine the first person to experience like, I don't know, winter in Northwest Europe, and imagine how scary it must have been back in the day when like everything was dying and like, you didn't have grocery stores, whatever. You had to have a lot of trust in the universe to know that like spring was going to come around, summer was going to come around, and everything was going to be blooming again. So that's kind of what you're being called to have now as well. Have some faith, have some trust, and know that everything is flowing and unfolding exactly how it should, pile 1. You are on the right track. You are going to get there, and you just have to kind of let go and allow the universe to take over, because you are heading in 1000% the right direction. So that is what I have for you, pile number 1. I really hope that resonates, guys. If it does, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're curious about my family law experiences. I could maybe make a video about that at some point. I don't know when. It would be away from my usual tarot stuff, but I feel like I learned a lot of wisdom in that, and I wish more women kind of like knew what they were getting into sometimes, because I feel like you can actually take that and extend it towards so many different areas of life, the lessons I learned there. Well, let me know how it resonated for you. If you feel like it did apply to this season in your life, I would love to know. Also, give it a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my content, then be sure to head to my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. There are over 150 exclusive readings, and then you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So if that sounds good to you, then head to my website, head to my Patreon. The link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And at my website, you can book a private session with me, get a private reading with me. You can have it be shorter or longer, live, or sent to your email. You get to really customize your time with me, so it's the perfect session for you. If that sounds good, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a time slot with me. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey guys, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Joyful Muse, Inspiration, Money Mass, The Authentic Self, Garden of Venus, Rest and Renewal, The Perfect Storm, The Courage to Step into Life. So I feel like you guys are really divinely inspired at this time. You should be paying very much attention to what kind of dreams you have, what pops up in your life that captures your attention. Like it could be as simple as you're going for a walk and something just really sticks out on you and like starts a idea in your brain, and that idea could become like $1 billion business or a best-selling novel. This could be a very ripe time in your life as far as planting seeds, getting ideas, putting something into the process of eventually coming to fruition. It feels like this is like the idea stage, you know, like maybe we're not ready to launch yet. Maybe it's not like, okay, everything's perfect, ready to go. But we have these ideas coming in that could lead to something so special. And I feel like this is your time to really like put your antenna up. You know, it's funny, in astrology, the sign of Neptune and Uranus a little bit kind of look like antennas. And those are both signs, like especially with Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces, of creativity and also of communing with the divine. So often when someone is being very creative, they're also tuning into spirit more. They're also highly psychic. And a lot of times that idea literally comes from spirit. And so many writers will say like, I don't know, the idea just came to me fully formed. I didn't do anything about it. Or so many songwriters will say the same, like, I don't know, I dreamed the melody and I woke up and it was all there and I was just transcribing it, which is funny because to me as a tarot reader and psychic, I guess, I feel like that's how it is for me. Like, I remember when I first started doing private readings, what I learned and the advice I would give if anyone's like, oh, I want to do private readings or mediumship or psychic stuff or tarot, is just say whatever comes to your mind and don't try to make any sense of it. Like I remember I have so many like stories around this, but like it's almost like the crazier it is, the better in a reading. And one thing that will happen is you'll have people push back or be like, no, sorry, that doesn't make sense. And like when I was a little baby doing it, I would always be like, oh God, okay, then it must be wrong. Well, maybe it meant this. And I would try to like make logical sense of it. And I remember I had one like really loyal regular client who I would see like probably every month or so. She would book a reading. And I kept asking her about like this certain name, say Billy. I was like, who's Billy? Who's Billy? And she was like, I don't know a Billy, sorry. And this one reading, I just kept asking her, I'm like, you really, I don't know, I keep hearing it. And I felt kind of really dumb because by the end, she's like, no, I don't know anyone. I mean, she's so nice, but I was like, okay, I look like a lunatic. And then the next reading, the next time I saw her, she was like, oh my gosh, and you're never going to guess what happened. And basically, she had someone in her life who had passed, who was important to her, that we had done a bunch of mediumship readings about. And she was working out at the gym, and someone came up to her and was like, oh, you knew the deceased person that she was always tuning into. And was like, oh, you know, I was really good friends with him and we worked on this. And she realized like she had never known this person, didn't know they were, didn't really know this member of, you know, the friend group or whatever. Anyway, and they wanted to talk to her about the deceased person. She was always getting the mediumship readings, and that was, his name was Billy. So I thought that was so cool. And honestly, the only reason I bring that up is because I think a lot of times with mediumship, your instinct is to be like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I bring up peach pie in the middle of the reading? But often those are the things that make the person be like, oh my God, like, yes, that's exactly it. Like, the crazier it is, or the more specific it is, or the more you're thinking, why would I say this? Or what is going on? The more accurate it is. And sometimes the person receiving it doesn't even get it right away. And it takes them time. And they might immediately be like, no, it doesn't, I don't know anyone by that name, or no, it doesn't have anything to do with me. And my point in all that is, it really is something that, like, when it comes from spirit, you just have to trust it. You have to pay attention. You have to take it serious. That's the best advice I can give. Don't ever write it off as like, oh, yeah, that's irrelevant. Why would I bring up this? No, that subject, well, maybe this makes sense. Let me logically weave it into this. And maybe what spirit is saying is trying to be this. You're just the translator. You just bring it apart, through. Like, that's your job, is like, just to, I always think of it as like, the translators in the UN, and someone speaks like Korean into their ear, and then they say it in English, and their job is not to like rephrase it or change it or be like, well, I disagree, because that's not their job. Their job is just to say what they said verbatim. And I feel like a lot of times creative people talk about it with the same way. Like, they're like, I don't know. I didn't come up with the idea. I don't even like this character, but it was just the character that like spirit brought to my mind, and I didn't seek it out. I didn't make it work. I barely did anything. I just transcribed. And that's the most powerful gift you can have. When you have a creative idea that comes straight from spirit, then that tunes into, like, in Kabbalah, in the ladder of Kabbalah, the highest element, which actually represents God, is connected with the aces. When you do the Kabbalistic associations with the tarot cards, the element associated with God itself is connected with the aces. So whether it's Ace of Wands, Ace of Swords, Ace of Cups, that moment of divine inspiration, that moment when something just pops into your head and you're like, oh, this idea, or oh my gosh, some little download in your head. That's the most powerful moment. And you guys are ripe for them right now. I feel like you're going to get one. If you haven't already, you're going to get one. And maybe it could be a download about a step in life you need to take, a path you're supposed to go on. If you've been like agonizing or wondering, sometimes I feel like the best examples of that are just like random, you're not even worried about the subject, but it pops into your head. But take it serious. Maybe you should get a dream journal and write down your dreams whenever you wake up, because I feel like those are going to be very vivid and intuitive. Or it could be something when it comes to creativity. Let me spin the astro dice to see what this could have to do with what area of your life. Okay, so we have Mercury. We have it in the third house. Ooh, so this could definitely be writing. This could definitely be communication of some kind. Even it could be something like, anything with communication, starting a podcast, starting a TikTok, starting a YouTube, writing. Anything communicative-wise, this definitely could have to do with. And Sagittarius rules education. It also rules long-distance travel. So if you get like a idea that you need to go on a trip, or that you want to go back to school, and it should feel different. It should feel like that message from spirit, like kind of like it doesn't come from you, it comes from outside of you. Take that serious. Maybe there's somewhere you're supposed to go that's gonna like change your life, or you're gonna meet someone, or there's a destiny moment here. And also, again, with this heavy emphasis on the third house and communication, this could definitely be like tuning into spirit when it comes to anything ruling communication. So writing, speaking, even like saying your ideas out loud. Maybe there's a part of you that like you've wanted to post something on social media, but you always end up questioning it, or being like, no, that's stupid, I shouldn't say that, or rehashing it, or writing it down and then rewriting it, and then you never post it. But I feel like, it kind of reminds me of like some of the biggest TikTok channels that I'll see are just people that post like 30 videos a day. And you kind of, when you see their page, you're like, why does this person have like 3 million followers? Because like their videos are getting like 5K views for the first set of them are all like kind of low views. But then you realize they're posting so many videos, and then they hit gold every once in a while, and then that's how they get like 3 million people to watch. So it is very effective to just do that stream of consciousness and not edit yourself like so many people do, and just put it out there and have that faith and trust in the universe that your message will find the right people. Because I feel like you have more supporters than you realize. You have more people who are interested in what you have to say. What you have to say is more valuable than you realize. You're more insightful than you realize. And you need to like just, yeah, not be afraid to show yourself as well with this Many Masks card and Perfect Storm card. Have that courage to put it out there. Have that courage to like go for this. Like I said, when I started really doing readings, it's always the readings that I was like, what the hell? That was way too specific. Why would I post that on YouTube? Maybe I should just delete it. And then those would be the videos that people would really like and be like, oh my God, you mentioned this specifically. And it was such a confirmation. And that's when I realized like, hey, I'm not the best arbiter. Like all I can do is translate, because I'll never be the predictor of what videos people like and what they don't. And it's just up to me to like bring the message through. And it's not up to you to say. All you can do is like transcribe it, say what spirit has put in your head, and then like let spirit do the rest, you know? Let's get into some tarot cards for you, pile number 2. What messages do we have for pile number 2, spirit? King of Cups, okay. 5 of Cups. 8 of Wands. Page of Wands, and the Strength card. This is the 6 of Wands. The 3 of Wands. And what message do we have for pile 2, spirit? Okay. 10 of Wands and the 6 of Pentacles. Interesting. 6 of Cups as well. So yeah, I feel like there's kind of a message here around paying attention to what you really love, paying attention to what excites you. And I don't know, not letting people hold you back, like kind of like holding your ground. Maybe even if you tuned into this and you were like wondering about, yeah, maybe when I said, hey, open to your creativity, you were like, okay, there is something that I want to do, or there is something that I've had creatively in mind. But then there's a part of you that's like, I'm not sure, maybe I should change it. I also feel like there's a message here around really sticking to your creative vision and really putting something out there that like you fully believe in, like not diluting it, not editing it, not being like, oh, I shouldn't say that, I don't know, I'm not sure. Like I really feel like the message is, put it out from your heart, make it as unrefined, make it as unfiltered as possible, and just do it, you know? I don't know, it's funny, I was thinking lately, I'll never forget something. One of my best friends, he ends up saying the most like weirdly profound philosophical stuff. And when I was living in LA, we would talk, because we both like randomly decided to move to LA around the same time, like not together, but like we just ended up there. And we both were like deciding to go there at the same time. Anyway, and we would talk because we both were like experiencing LA for the first time, about like the celebrities we saw and like the culture in LA and the celebrities. And one of the things he was telling to me or explaining to me was, he was like, you realize all these celebrities, like they have to go through kind of these humiliation rituals. And he was telling me, like, do you know what they do in acting or drama school? And I was like, not really, no, I haven't thought about it. And he was like, well, they make them like go on stage and like pretend to be a chicken and do that for like 2 hours. Or they make them like pretend to be a worm, or they make them pretend to be a newborn baby and like kick and scream and roll around on stage. And we were talking about that, and I was like, oh my God, like I could never. I was like, I just have too much shame to do that. And he was like, yeah, but that's what they're training out of you. Like the whole point is to train you out of having shame. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, you know, that's why like the best actors, when they go on SNL, they like fully lean in. Like when someone is a really, really good actor, like an artist type actor, like an Adam Driver, or someone who's like, you know, gets mentioned with Oscars and very respected for their acting, it's always like so embarrassing. Like I can never watch. And I'm always like, why is this person even going on SNL? Because they have them do the most embarrassing stuff. You know, like they have them in the most cringe skits, saying the most unfunny stuff, like pretending to be like a little girl in pigtails and it's like a grown man. And it's just like, I'm always like, why would anyone do this? But he was like, that's because those actors, and it's kind of a psychological trauma for them, and that's why some of them go crazy. But they literally have like their dignity and their self-protectiveness trained out of them because they go to acting class. And in acting class, they just make them like get down on the floor on all fours and like crawl around, you know, for hours and hours and hours and say the most ridiculous things and do the most ridiculous lines. And all of that is done for the purpose of training them out of having shame and dignity. And anyway, why that's coming to my mind is like the more I think about celebrities, the more I see that. The more you think about like the top people on like TikTok, they're the people doing story times and telling the like nastiest, goriest details. The top celebs are like the Kim Kardashians, someone who launched with like a sex tape, something that would be a humiliation ritual, or someone like top, you know, female artist is probably Taylor Swift. And she's, you know, had so many scandals, so many like embarrassing, cringe things in the public eye. And even now, she's always filmed at like awards shows dancing by herself. People are like, it's so embarrassing for her. Like, she's such a bad dancer. Why is she the only one dancing in this crowd? But there's something in like a lot of top celebrities that like, yeah, they don't have any shame. And when he pointed that out, I was like, that is really true. Like there's, and that the funny thing is like a lot of people, their dreams of success, what they want to accomplish, the things they want to do is being held back by that shame. It's being blocked like a dam by their sense of self and by the like, oh, I don't want anyone to judge me. Like so many people, they want to start an Instagram account, they want to start a TikTok account, they want to start a YouTube, but they're at the end of the day afraid of what they're like friends from their hometown are going to think. They're afraid of what other people are going to say. They're afraid of strangers. They're afraid of that little period before you get a serious number of subscribers or followers when you look like delusional. You look crazy because you're posting like your get ready for me or day in the life video and there's like 40 subscribers and you look stupid. And I totally understand. I mean, I get it. But at the same time, it's like the only way to get to the 3 million is to be willing to withstand that shame and to be willing to exist in the humiliation thing. And that's why sometimes it goes too far with the celebs and they go crazy because they've had too many humiliation rituals. But to a certain extent, you also have to accept that like pretty much all celebs, when you really think about it, they all go through something like that. They all have to play embarrassing roles. They all have to do embarrassing stuff. And part of it, you know, a lot of people have conspiracy theories that like, oh, it's deliberately done on purpose. And I'm sure maybe there is some element of that. But I also think it's just because like, that's the only people who will tolerate that. That's how you build it. Like you actually, no one really is interested in someone who's perfectly polished. You know, it's like one thing I think about Meghan Markle when I see her Instagram is just how like, and I don't mean to be insulting, but like she's such a dated millennial and I'm not trying to attack her, but like, it's funny. You can kind of tell that she was like, I guess traumatized a little bit by being like in England with the royal family. And like, she was totally MIA because she doesn't seem to know that like the very curated images that people used to post back in like 2016, they don't do that anymore. And now it's all about like kind of just showing it like your real life, right? But a lot of the people who came up on Instagram in the early days, like 2011, when it was just popping off, they get used to like the curated photos of latte art with like a heart in the middle and the posed picture with your friends and like the boomerangs and everything's arranged. And like Gen Z hates that. Gen Z wants to see like the natural photos, even when it's like those are actually posed too, which a lot of times they are. But the point is, everyone realized how like fake that was, and now no one wants it. With the, you know, when it first opened with social media, with Instagram and with Facebook, people had never seen it before. So it was still believable that like, oh, this is this person's real life. And they just so happen to have a perfect existence. But now we've seen so many scandals. We've seen so many like behind the scenes. And we know that like that person taking the perfect photo could go back in their room and cry. That like no one cares anymore. No one wants to see a perfect, beautiful posed picture. Because we've all seen that those perfect posed pictures take like 30 minutes to set up and like push the wine glass into the right direction and then angle the pasta and then like set the flowers in the middle. So the only thing anyone is interested in is completely real, 1000% genuine and vulnerable content. And I say all this to say, this is actually so reassuring because it's like, I know for me, there have been times that I have, not so much on YouTube because I think my brain just like shuts off now with YouTube and I just am like, okay, whatever. But like I think everyone struggles with like, oh, but I don't want to be embarrassed about this. I don't know, but what if I say that? But the path to like actually getting success is to be willing to open to that. And when I see so many big celebrities, like the biggest celebrities, they all have to go through something humiliating. The biggest pop stars right now are all ones that are like, I think the reason why Taylor Swift is so huge is because she writes the most embarrassing stuff. Like I remember when I first became aware of like Taylor Swift, I was like embarrassed for her and I couldn't even relate because I was the kind of person, I had been raised like in the culture of like never never be never like show that you're obsessed with a guy. You know, like there was so much shame about like being the crazy ex-girlfriend who was obsessed with like the past situationship, and you were supposed to be cool and chill and relax. And I was always like, oh my God, like Taylor Swift is like freaking out again in a song, kind of like everyone else says about an ex-boyfriend. But then you actually listen to the music and it's like, yeah, it is relatable. And yeah, it is screwed up that that guy didn't text me back, and screw him. And it's only through her making herself vulnerable that we actually care. And I think that's why of all the female artists, she's the one that's gotten the biggest, to the point where like her numbers are so insane compared to everyone else. And I think it's because she's willing to be so embarrassing, like all of it. She does not try to hide. She puts out like songs where she's crying about the guy who didn't text her back. She's emotional. She's vulnerable. If someone does her wrong, she'll bring it up ad nauseum. And we can all actually relate to that. And we actually want to hear songs about that. We don't want to hear songs about how perfect her life is or her mansions or her private jets. We want to hear about how the guy dumped her. And she put out a whole album about like a guy who dumped her after 2 weeks of a situationship and she didn't care. Like that's crazy, you know? The other ones who are like the biggest, like Beyonce, she put out a whole album about her husband cheating with her and her staying with him, you know? And then now I feel like one of the proteges or the up and coming Olivia Rodrigo, again, she's made her whole albums off of like crying about guys that didn't want her, you know? I mean, that's how you become big. Like you can't mistake that like they all have the same pattern. None of them break the mold. The ones who become the biggest are the ones who are willing to expose themselves the most. And I actually think, again, that's really kind of reassuring because it's like, as much as you might think this is so embarrassing, no one's going to relate, I look like such a loser, how should I even talk about this? That's actually how you find your diehards. That's actually how people relate to you. It's not through being perfect, and it's not through acting like you have your shit perfectly together and everything is exactly right. It's through showing the cracks, and it's through letting yourself be imperfect. So once you realize that, it's actually so freeing. It's actually so freeing, and it's like, oh, I can just put out whatever. I think that's why I said now I don't stress about my YouTube channel like at all. But I remember when I first started it, like, I'm so glad I had to film these long form videos, like 2-hour readings, because I know I am such a perfectionist in so many other areas of my life that like, if these tarot videos weren't so damn long, I would have spent like hours, I would have spent a really long time like editing them and then obsessing and then being like, oh, but the lighting's off here. Oh, but I said that wrong. Let me redub it. Oh my gosh, let me, I should just do another voiceover. Let me chop that section out, right? But they were so long, like in 2 hours, an hour and a half each, that I was like, okay, I can't edit them, so I have to post. I have no choice. I hope I said everything good. I hope I didn't embarrass myself too much. Even now, sometimes I'll do a private reading and someone will bring up like a really embarrassing story I told, and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I mentioned the time that like I spilled juice all over myself at a party. I'm glad I told that to like thousands of people, and I didn't even remember telling that damn story, but but I'm glad. I am glad that like I put it out there. But the point is, it's like, that's what you have to realize is actually people are not as harsh on you as you may think. And it's only through being willing to fully lean into that embarrassment that you find your success and that people get drawn to you. It's by being your truest, most messy, authentic self. So I feel like that's kind of what these cards are saying. Honestly, it's a little bit of a chaotic mix of tarot cards here. And yeah, that's kind of the vibe and the emotion I get from them is like leaning hard into it, just doing it. The Page of Wands, like fully embracing this combined with the Eight of Wands, like just do it. Don't think, don't overthink, just lean into it and just be like, yeah, this is what I want. I mean, look how many Wands cards you guys got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of Wands. You also got a lot of Cups. So those are the two most emotional signs. Those are the two signs that run off emotion, run off feeling, and don't overthink or don't like overplan. They just do it. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what Spirit is calling you to do, is like, if you've been deliberating, if you've been going back and forth in your head, this is your time to just fully embrace like what you want and do it. And then, you know, you can overthink it later, I guess, but just step into it. Let's get some more cards for you. Pile number 2. So this one is 2 cards. Insight, magical tool. Oh my God. Look, magical tools, writing, star crafting. So wow, this is more confirmation. You guys need to be writing something or communicating something, putting something out there. There's something valuable that you have to share with the world. Pile 2. Open like the lotus, flowering spirit, revelation, maturity. Also, I love that revelation energy, like, and being open, just like sharing yourself, you know. Let's get some more cards for you. Pile number 2. What messages do we have for pile 2, Spirit? Okay, so this one is Temple of Dreams, Sacred Dreams, Prophecies, Dream Journeys, Fairy Energy, Growth, Expansion, of Flowering. Let's see. This one is Resurrection, Comeback, Rebirth, Renewal. Let's get one final card. The Gift, Present, Honoring, Offering. Okay. Wow. So yeah, I feel like that really says it all. Honestly, this is like you have a gift, and it's a gift you need to share with the world. It's a gift that like I feel like the world really needs and deserves and wants to receive, you know? Like this is something that I feel like is kind of your destiny to share. I feel like you're supposed to share it. I feel like it would be such a shame if you didn't offer it to the world. I feel like there are a lot of cards about how psychic you are at this time. Temple of Dreams. Again, pay attention to your dreams. Write them down. I'm also feeling called to pull one more card for you guys. Water Spirit, and maybe one more. The Mirror. Other lives, past lives, dimensional lives. Yeah, water spirit as well. Like I said, you guys got a lot of cups. So those water energy runs on emotions. It runs on feeling. I really feel like this energy is around not editing yourself, not second guessing yourself, just like putting something out there and continuing to do it. It's almost like that process of writing a book and just having trust in the pages, even if right now you don't think it's very good. Like it kind of reminds me, I heard that Stephen King, he wrote his first book, I think it was Carrie, his first big best-selling book. He'd written other books in the past, but like nothing was published. And then he wrote Carrie, and when he was finished, he thought it was so bad, he literally threw it in the trash, and his wife found it. She fished it out, and she was like, this is really good. And she pushed him to send it off to publishers, and he did. And then, of course, now he's like one of the biggest, richest authors in the world. So yeah, I feel like, you know, there's also that message that like, you're not the best arbiter of yourself. Like I always say, it's crazy to me sometimes when I think of like videos that have done really well versus ones that haven't. Sometimes the video that I'm like, this one was so good, I channeled so well, I feel so happy with it, and it totally bombs. And then there are readings that I'm like stressed, in a bad mood, or I just don't like the reading, and afterwards I'm like, God, it was bad, maybe I should delete. And then but you know, it's hard to delete a video when you spent like 2 hours filming it. So again, that's why I said it's very good. Like this exact format for me with tarot, it's so good because it literally is like, it locks you in. There's so much initial investment required. You can't really edit. You can't control it. You just end up having to post. And that has been the most healing thing for me, because I think I am like definitely an overthinker, and maybe you guys are too. Maybe you're the type of person that like, you really question every time you post on Instagram. You really question if you're writing something, you're going to go back and reread it a million times. you're like, I'd like to do this, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I'm good enough. And the energy that I'm getting for you guys is like, just do it. Just allow yourself. Let the universe decide. You know, it's almost like putting something out there is like offering a gift to the universe. It's like saying, here it is, and then you get to decide whatever happens to it. Your guides, your angels, your ancestors, they get to decide whether it blows up. They get to decide whether other people find it. They get to decide what happens. But all you can do is offer it as a gift. Be like, okay, this is my work. This is my life energy. This is what I'm bringing forth. And then how it gets received is kind of out of your business. It's like when you give someone a gift, you bring over, I don't know, a picture frame to someone's house. Maybe it's a really nice, beautiful picture frame and it's like sterling silver or something, or it's like beautiful. You found it, you searched for it and found like, I don't know, a flower. That would be my preference. I love flower everything. A flower-shaped picture frame or something. And you bring it over to them and you give it to them. It's up to them what they do. It's up to them whether they stick it in the basement and are like, oh, it's really ugly. Or whether they put it out front, or whether they put it in the living room, or put it by their bedside table or whatever, right? You're not going to come over and like check a million times. You gave it to them as a gift and then they get to decide what they do with it. And by the same token, think of it that way. If you're having like anxiety or stage fright, or you're like, oh, but like, what if it bombs? What if it doesn't do well? I don't know. What if I mess up? It's like, that's okay then, you know, then that's what happens. But I feel like Spirit is saying it's time for you to put this out there. And then, like I said, just take it as like, now it's out of my hands. I put it out in the world. Now it's out of my hands and my team can do the rest. And all I can do, all I have to do is channel that from Spirit and bring it out as purely and undiluted as possible. Just as raw, as genuine, as intense. You know what I think is interesting as well, not to go on a tangent, but I am super ADHD, so I'm going to go on a tangent. That's one thing I am going to do, is over the past recent years or decade or so, like the biggest books, I think they all started as like fan fiction or Wattpad, right? Like I know 50 Shades of Grey started that way. There was a really big book a few years ago, like Elements of Chemistry or something. A big romance novel that started as fan fiction. I think there's like a His Dark Materials or something book that started as like Harry Potter fan fiction, and I'm pretty sure that book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, also started on Wattpad, or the writer was prolific on Wattpad. I think that's so interesting. And I think it's interesting for a multitude of reasons. One being, I feel like what's different about fan fiction and like Wattpad stuff is it's very like unmonitored, unregulated, right? Like what gets attention in those spaces are like the most dramatic, the most intense. They're written by like sometimes young people who were like, you know, like in their teens or tweens. So they're not as like everything perfect. And it's like almost like you're getting the raw source material, because by the time it gets published, so much of the time they get like an editor's going over it, and an editor is being like, oh, that's politically incorrect, we can't say that, or like, that's not, well, no, we can't have a character acting that way, that's offensive in some way, in whatever way, like, oh, he's coming on too strong romantically, we can't have that. No. Or like, why don't we add in like a best friend who's like a good supportive character, and she's going to give some representation for this. She's going to be the smart character of reason. Or why don't we add this character in, because this is like a morality play and we want to like send a good message, so we can have this person. And it's like, you know what I mean? There's always these like diluting forces that come in and start like ruining the art. And I think that's why books that blow up via fan fiction become so popular in the wider world, because maybe publishers are less likely to mess around with it, because they're like, oh, like this stuff, people love it as is, so we're not going to have you write like 2 extra characters and they're kind of scolding and they're kind of like lecturing people in morality. Like, it's like, that's what everyone hated, right, about the Sex and the City reboot, because everyone was like, there's random like social justice messages woven into it. And not even to like make a statement about anti-social justice or whatever, but I just think people are like, if they want to watch a romance, they want to watch a romance, or they want to watch a like escapist fantasy, they want to watch an escapist fantasy. And that like dilutes the art. It takes it from something that's genuine, and people can feel genuine. People can feel when you're speaking to them honestly, and they can feel when you're kind of lying. I mean, even to a point where like it can be destructive. Like whatever you, I try never to really make political statements on here about my political beliefs, but whatever you think of him, you know, with Donald Trump, or what he's done for the country or the world, it's like that's why people like him, is because at least he's honest, right? And people feel that he's honest when they feel like most politicians are always like dancing around issues and not telling the truth. People are so hungry for the truth that they'll tolerate a lot of stuff just to get truth, because there is something so deeply powerful about the truth. This is why, again, in Kabbalah, the highest element, the element of God, is the aces, because the aces are like that moment of truth, that moment that comes directly from spirit, and it's unfiltered, it's raw, it's someone genuinely telling whatever they think. It's someone who is not filtering, they're not considering, they're not editing, they just are coming at it with full force of want and need and desire. You know, the ace of swords is just going to say what they think. The ace of wands is going to go after what they want. The ace of cups is that pure emotion, that rush of emotion. So it's like a moment when you're not filtering, you're not thinking, you're not over questioning. And anyway, I feel like, yeah. So the point is for you, I feel like your message is just bring through whatever spirit has put in you as genuinely as possible. Don't be filtering it. Don't be refining it. Don't be questioning. If you're like, yeah, I want to post on social media, just start being as honest and real as possible. Don't be like, well, let me put the makeup on first. Let me put the lighting and let me make sure this is, or don't be like, well, let me write it out first and let me just say what's on your mind, and just start doing that as a habit. And what I will say, as someone who films and posts on YouTube, is it just gets easier the more you do it. Like, I think I definitely would get anxiety when I first started my YouTube channel and like, you know, get nervous about every single video. Now it's like, oh, whatever. And I think that goes for anything. The more you do it, the more you make it a habit of just showing up authentically and being like, here it is. Anyway, the easier it gets. It becomes like a habit. So anyway, yeah, that is the message I have for you. Pile number 2. That went a little longer than I intended, but I hope it resonated. I would love to hear if it did. I know I went on a few tangents, but I felt like I needed to get that message through. So yeah, I hope it resonated. Please let me know if it does in the comments. I'm always curious and always would love to know. And make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my content, you can head on over to my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. There are over 150 exclusive readings, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. I just posted a reading all about what everyone thinks of your relationship. So that's a juicy one. But there is so much content to choose from, and you also get to be the first to watch my YouTube videos. So if that sounds good, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you're looking for a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading, whether you want it to be focused on tarot, astrology, channeling, mediumship, a combination, you get to really customize and choose your time with me. So if that sounds good, then head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a time slot with me. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, Pile 3, welcome to your readings. You guys got Netcaster, preparations come to fruition, first breath, beginner's mind, stranger curiosity, lost compass, getting back to integrity, and spirit of the river, movement towards adventure. So wow, the first thing that comes to my mind is there is some brand new fresh start happening for you guys. It feels like you're ready to step into some kind of new destiny, or there's a new beginning happening. I don't know if this is a new job. I don't know if you guys are going to move. I feel like there's a little trepidation I'm picking up on, a little fear. And I do feel like the first message that's coming through is like, you are so ready for this. Okay, this has been a long time coming, and you are going to be able to handle all of it. And I feel like this is such a positive thing. It may feel a little scary, but this is like a destiny moment. This is something that I feel like is really pushing you towards what you're meant to be doing, what you're supposed to be doing. And it's much more you know what I mean? Like, it's much more authentic to who you are than whatever you've been doing in your past. Like, I feel like you're going to be able to step into your truest self. You're going to be able to be who you're meant to be through making this change. And that's probably why you're a little nervous. Like, that's a good thing. You know, I always think of it that Eileen Gu, they said like, she's won a bunch of medals in the Olympics and everything. And at the Winter Olympics, they were asking her like, how do you, stay calm when you're about to go down on these Olympic runs? And like, that's got to be so much pressure. And she said, what I tell myself is that in the body, nervousness and like excitement are actually the same hormone. And I mean, she went to Stanford, so I'm going to defer to her on this. I assume she knows like the biochemistry and the actual science of it. So I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense because I do feel like, the feeling of nervousness I get when I'm like maybe dreading something, and the feeling of nervousness I get when I'm like going on a roller coaster and I know it's going to be fun, but I'm still like a little nervous and it's going to be exciting and I know I'm safe, but I have that adrenaline pumping. It does feel the same. And I think for her, she said just by reminding herself that, it's like, okay, there's nothing bad. Just because I'm nervous, just because I feel a little bit anxious, that doesn't mean anything wrong is happening. Actually, it could mean something amazing is happening, something really good is happening. So she chooses to kind of focus on that to remind herself that like, you're good, you're going to have fun, you're going to enjoy this. And that's what allows her to like win the gold medal. And I thought that was like something that's so smart. We could all adapt that in our lives because I do think it's a knee-jerk thing that sometimes when you're about to embark on something new, it feels scary and it doesn't necessarily feel pleasant. Like us in the psychic community, we're so big into like listen to your body and pay attention and go with what feels peaceful. But the truth is sometimes in life there's going to be things that like take you out of your comfort zone, and it might even feel like, okay, I really have nerves. Obviously, if like your gut is screaming at you and you're nervous in a really negative way, then that's a bad thing. But we also get nervous before good things. We also get nervous. I always think of nerves like this. What comes to my mind, Spirit puts in my mind, is me being dropped off at college. And I remember being so anxious watching my family drive away, like all my siblings and my mom in their big SUV, and feeling just so alone, feeling like I didn't know anyone when I went to my college. I literally did not know anyone. No one from my high school was going there. In my year at least. And I was just so like, I don't know, a soul. I think my roommate, like she had already moved in, but she was pretty much gone. She already had her friend group. So like she said hi once, then she left. And so I had to go back to like this empty room, say goodbye to my family. And I was just feeling so scared. I remember literally thinking maybe I should just call my mom and be like, can you come back and pick me up? And I don't want to go to college. But like, obviously I'm so glad I did. And it ended up being amazing. And I ended up eventually meeting my friend group, meeting people that would mean a lot to me, doing well in school, having formative experiences. So just because you're like nervous, just because you're like anxious about something, it doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. Obviously, if your intuition is screaming at you in a really negative way and you have a feeling of dread, then that's different. But I just feel like this feeling coming through is so positive, pile number 3. It feels like you're ready to embark on this new challenge. I feel like Spirit is encouraging you with this movement towards adventure. So reminding you, like, don't be afraid. Just because something might be out of your comfort zone doesn't mean it's not for you. I was thinking of that yesterday as well, where like I used to play the stupid memory game on my phone, and I feel like I've learned a lot spiritually from that, because I found myself, instead of doing the new memory challenges, I kept going back and like pushing towards stuff I'd already done. So it was like way less points than playing a new memory game, but I'd be like, oh, I like this one. It's fun for me. And I was wondering, why do I dread the new stuff? Like, why am I replaying old stuff that gives me like 10% of the points? And why am I avoiding doing the new games that I will get so many more points? And I realized it's because it is literally uncomfortable when you're learning something new. Like, your brain is stretching itself. If you've ever had to like learn a language, it's like, it is not a fun sensation. No one, I think in the early stages when you don't know any words, is like, oh, this is a blast. It feels uncomfortable. It's literally the feeling of like your brain working out and building new synapses. In the same way, like going to the gym is working out your muscles. And I was just thinking how like I love to cook, but I literally hate following a new recipe. I hate when I have to like learn something new and always be like cross-referencing a cookbook and like learning how many cups to put in and how many tablespoons, and like, okay, this has to be diced and add it in this order. And it's always like, but meanwhile, I love cooking the stuff I already know. And then I read this study that said older people who cook one new meal a week, so they have to be new, it cannot be an old recipe, live a lot longer and have lower rates of dementia. Why? Because their brain is working out. So all these things are connected, like the new memory game, the new language, the new recipe. That is so good for your brain. It is so good to like avoid dementia, avoid health issues. But it feels literally uncomfortable. Like it's annoying, it's painful, because that's what happens when we learn something new, when we step out of our comfort zone. And it's not a red flag. It doesn't mean like, oh, this isn't for me, I can't do it. There's resistance here. It means this is actually good for you. You're growing, you're learning, you're changing. And I feel like you guys are stepping into that. Like you're stepping into your new capacity. Imagine how much better of a cook you would be after like you cooked for a whole year learning one new recipe every week. Like low key, I always kind of judge when someone's like, oh, I'm a really bad cook, because I'm like, how? Like it's not that hard. And you just like dice the stuff up and follow the cookbook, and it's like really easy. But when I think about it, it's like, I get it, because anything that's like I haven't already acquired knowledge in, a lot of times I'm like, oh, that looks really difficult. Why bother? Right? We're so used to being in our comfort zone that like we totally tend to seek out just like what's easy, what's familiar. But that's not where we grow. And like people who end up, in their comfort zone, I know just anecdotally, like my grandmother actually fell and broke her hip a few years ago, and she was like 96, which is crazy. They say if you break your hip after age like 60, it means like a way higher risk of mortality within the next like 2 years. And it's so, so bad for life expectancy. And my grandmother was up and healing within a few months. And everyone was kind of shocked at the hospital at like how quickly she healed. And the doctor told her the reason why is because she was super, super active as an adult. She never sat around and just didn't do anything. I personally think it's because she has a Virgo moon. She's an Aquarius, but she has a Virgo moon, and so it's like she has a Cancer moon like me and a Virgo ascendant. But she is always that person that like things have to be organized, things have to be taken care of. She does not want like a mess in her townhouse. So she was going up and down the stairs every single day. She was still cooking, she was still cleaning. She's still very aware of the news. She watches the news all the time. She's always thinking. If I want to talk to her about something, like I can complain to her about something and she like knows what's going on. And she is in her late 90s now. She's 101, I think. Yeah. So yeah, compared to like other older people, they said you're so much more active, and that's why you healed. And I feel like if you asked her, she wouldn't be like, oh, it's not like she's deliberately going to the gym and like having fun activities. It's like she's up cleaning and she's vacuuming because she hates having a mess. Like she hates any kind of a mess. And she's going up the stairs to get something, and she's cooking herself a meal, and she's super independent, and she doesn't like anyone else doing anything for her. And I think if you asked her about it, like again, if you ask her about the news, she's often like mad about something that's going on. It's not like a pleasant like, oh, I'm just playing memory games all day. But she's very aware. She's very like alive. You know what I mean? She's not like a person who's older and has a very muted energy. And even though you might at first perceive it, because honestly, whenever people say like, oh, one of the keys to life is having less stress, I'm always like, it can't be true, because my grandmother she's so alive, and yet she is like very stressed out as a person. Like she's not a easygoing, like everything's cool kind of person. She's very particular. She's very like, I would say she like her temperament kind of runs hot. You know what I mean? Like she's very feisty. And yet it's like she's outlived everyone. And I honestly think when people talk about like, oh, the key is just to be stress-free, the key is just to be relaxed, it's like there's truth to that. I'm not saying you should be totally stressed all the time, but honestly, like actually you grow better and you have the more vivid life when you challenge yourself, and that's good for you actually, to like go up the stairs all the time. Even if you're like, oh, this is so annoying, I have to climb up these stairs, it's still better for you than not doing it. Or if you're cooking food for yourself and you're like, oh, I wish I could just DoorDash everything, but like that's still good for you. Or if you're watching the news and it's annoying you, but like your brain is alive and you're functioning and you're taking it all in, that's also very positive. So anyway, all this to be said, I always think of that because I do think sometimes like peace is overrated, you know? Like sometimes you have to accept the fact that we are alive and we should live as vividly as possible. And we should make sure that the life we're living is like as exciting and adventure filled and it's stimulating us and it's really the most vivid experience we can have, because so many people stay stuck in life because it's like their comfort zone. They don't leave the bad marriage because, oh, then I'd have to be single and I don't want to date again. Or they don't leave the really bad job they're in because like, oh, I don't know, then I'd have to learn something new. Or they want to go back to school because they want to be a lawyer or whatever. But like that would be too hard and I don't know, I'm older, and they end up staying in their comfort zone, and then they end up just having this miserable, safe but miserable existence. And actually a lot of times the best thing for yourself is to thrust yourself into that energy of adventure. Another thing I was thinking about that is how Sagittarius in astrology ruled by Jupiter, the planet of abundance and luck, and it rules travel. It rules going to college. It rules those energies of getting yourself out of your comfort zone, right? So literally the planet of luck is connected with travel and college and going out of your comfort zone. That's how we access luck, by pushing ourselves, by getting into adventure. And anyway, that's just what I'm getting for you guys, is it feels like this is the time in your life when you're really stepping into who you are and you're really actually fully going after what you want. And I feel like you're going to get it, pile number 3. I feel like you are going to get it. Right now, you might not be sure and you might be like, I don't know, this feels risky. Like I was in my safety zone. I had that relationship, or I had that good job, or everything was predictable in a certain arena. And now I'm scared, but it's like, this is how you're going to get your abundance. This is how you're going to find so many good things. Let me clear these cards and get into some tarot for you, pile number 3. So let's get into the tarot for pile 3, Spirit. Okay, we have the 4 of Pentacles. Okay. Oh my gosh, as I'm talking about Sagittarius, Jupiter energy, we have the Wheel of Fortune card. Yes, this is like luck is on your side. That was too many cards. We want 1 or 2 at a time, Spirit, for pile number 3. We have the Empress. We have, oh my gosh, the 7 of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles. Wow, the Empress and the Queen of Pentacles actually came out together. So if you were in any doubt that this is a positive, good thing, this is a positive change, like there's your answer. Too many cards. 1 or 2 at a time, Spirit. 1 or 2 at a time. The Fool, not a surprise. The 8 of Pentacles. 8 of Cups. I feel like your manifestations are so powerful right now. And we got the Ace of Wands as I'm saying that. But I really do feel like your manifestations are so powerful right now, pile number 3. With the 7 of Cups coming out, to me personally, of course, everyone reads tarot differently, but to me, the 7 of Cups is a card that reminds us of how powerful our minds are, what we focus on, what we pay attention to, that we have the power and the ability to manifest whatever we want. And so we get to choose what that is. We get to choose what we focus on. We get to choose what we give our time and consciousness to, and then we get to stand back and watch Spirit deliver that. So I feel like for you, that's just that reminder to keep expecting the best. If you are nervous, again, do the Eileen Gu method and don't allow yourself to be like, oh, I'm nervous and it's because it's not going to work out and all the odds are against me and it's just not going to happen. And instead, get that mind right and start getting your thoughts in order. So your thinking is, this is going to be so amazing. Of course, I'm going to beat the odds. Of course, I'm going to win. Of course, I'm going to have blessings. Of course, I'm going to get that apartment I want, that relationship I want, that job I want, whatever it is that's been on your mind and heart, whatever you're doing. Instead of listening to the naysayers, instead of listening to the people that are like, you quit your job and you're moving to Bali? Oh my God, that sounds so dumb. Pay attention to the people, like, even if you have to like fill your Instagram feed and unfollow some people and refollow other people, go follow the person who moved to Bali and built a business. If this is the path you want, I'm not saying everyone has to like focus on Bali. It's just an example. But you know what I mean? There's always going to be people who are going to be like, that could never work out. And then there's going to be the people who are like, oh yeah, it totally can. And it was easy. It's no big deal. Yeah, sure. It's funny because, like, again, I always say this, but to me, I have been so, never in my life have I been more inspired than the Nepo baby discourse. Like, truly, everyone else was like, it's so depressing. The Nepo baby thing, like, what's even the point? And I was like, this is like the most positive, like, happy white pill thing I've ever heard of in my life. Because honestly, to me, I was like, damn, it's not that hard to do anything. Like, I used to think everyone who was in movies was like the most talented actor and they were just born with this gift and they were so special and so amazing, or the producers were all really intelligent and organized, and then the director was like a creative genius, and the singers all were had this beautiful gift. And then to realize what we've seen over the past few years, that it's like, no, it's just whoever's born into the family. That makes me realize that like literally anyone can do it. And by the same token, I realize that like sometimes meeting people, no offense, but like sometimes you meet someone who went to like an Ivy League school, or they're, and I don't mean to hate, I'm not trying to be rude towards anyone who did that. It's still an amazing accomplishment. But I think in my mind, I used to put people up on a pedestal. Like anyone who was super successful in an arena, I was like, oh, they must be a genius. If someone was like, oh yeah, I got into Harvard, I would be like, oh my God, they must have like a 300 IQ. They must be so intelligent. And then sometimes you meet these people and it's like an average, regular, schmegular person. Maybe they're just more organized. But what I found is a lot of the times those people are just audacious. I always think that when you see the Nepo babies, or even I want to extend it because to me, it's not just about the Nepo babies. It's also about like my personal interest is like the Disney kids and how almost all our current celebrities come from like the Disney kids that got famous when they were 12. And it's just so kind of bizarre to me. Like, it's like, why don't we have anyone else? Why is it always someone who was on, like, no matter what, when there's like some new artist and they're blowing up, like a new pop star, and then you find out like, oh no, they got famous on Nickelodeon or Disney when they were 11. And it's like, okay, why are these the only people, like what is happening? But what I realized is like, yeah, it is also about what those people have in common is like audacity. And I don't even mean that always as like a bad thing. I feel like, someone like Taylor Swift, she has a lot of audacity. Like, whatever you think of her, she has audacity. She had the audacity to be like, I need to move to Nashville when she was like, what, 14, and like got her family to do that. And then beyond that, she has continued to have the audacity to like sing and release her music and believe in herself. And now she said she wants to become a director. And like, it's so funny because it's like she's just doing it. She's just putting herself out as a director. And I saw she did some kind of interview. She's been directing her own music videos, and she did an interview with like Variety or something that's called Directors on Directors. And it's only for like the most esteemed directors in the world who win awards and stuff. And she got on it. Like, she used her connections and she was like, yeah, I've directed my music videos. I think she's directing a movie eventually, but she's somehow on that. And that is very audacious. And again, I'm not trying to hate on her because again, all successful people have this in common. Like, going back to like the Disney stars, a lot of them, I probably, because again, and I don't mean this as a good thing, I would have been like, oh, I'm just on Disney. That's embarrassing. I was some kind of child actor. I can't put myself out there as a singer. But like these people who are in LA, they're like, yeah, get me the songwriting team, get me the producers, get me the PR, get me the press. I deserve to have my album out. I deserve to sell out. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that because it's like the winner, the person who's the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The person who's gonna be willing to speak up for themselves and put themselves out there and actually go for what they want, that's the person who gets it. And the people who are like quiet and self-doubting and I don't know if I can do this, they don't get anything, And we can all access that energy. We can all be like Nepo baby Disney stars in our mind, right? We can all be like, I deserve that. Why shouldn't I have it? And so many of us spend time in like self-doubt, wondering how am I going to do this? Wondering if they have a chance, wondering if they're good enough. And it's like, sometimes at the end of the day, the thing is just deciding you are good enough. And I mentioned it before, like when I lived in LA, I saw a lot of celebrities in person. And the craziest thing is that a lot of them are just average looking people. Like really, I saw some major sex symbols and there were some exceptions. Like I always say, I think Margot Robbie is way more beautiful in person. So there was a handful of times that I was like, oh, this person actually is more attractive. But most of the celebrities that I saw, I was like, oh, they look like an average, you know, they kind of have a celebrity gloss around them, like perfect hair in place and really good skin, but they look like bone structure wise just an average, nothing striking. And again, I think that that's because again, it's not about like your innate looks and how good looking you are. It's about who is audacious. Who is the one who's going to put themselves out there, be like, it's time for me to move to LA. I deserve to be discovered. I deserve to be seen. I'm the best of the best. And you know what? That's the attitude we all need to have. Instead of questioning ourselves, doubting ourselves, keeping ourselves in the shadows, the world would be a better place if everyone had the same audacity. Then it would really be talent based. Right now, it's just going to whoever is the one who's like, I deserve it the most, because that person puts themselves out there and that person gets it. So why don't you start putting yourself out there in that way? Why don't you start being like, I deserve it? And maybe even working on meditations around that and realizing, like reprogramming your brain so you realize that you do deserve it and you know, should have all the nice things. But yeah, I feel like Spirit is saying with this card pull that you deserve amazing things. You are going to get amazing things. You have the Queen of Pentacles. You have the Empress card. So there's so much potential for success here and you getting exactly what you want. And once furthermore, I feel like the universe really wants to give it to you, pile 3. I feel like the universe is saying like, hey, this has been a long time coming and you deserve it. You've earned this. This is your time. It may take a while and it may take some planning. The first card you guys got was the 4 of Pentacles. You also got the 8 of Pentacles. So it may take time. It may not happen overnight, but I feel like you're going to be so capable of achieving it if you keep your mind right. And I think the 7 of Cups is really sticking out to me for that reason. The energy of making sure your mind and your manifestations and your heart is really on the right things and in the right place. And you're not wasting any time thinking negative thoughts or being depressed or thinking there's no chance or overthinking about the odds, and understanding that like you are exceptional and you deserve those things, you know? Yeah, I feel like there is just the Ace of Wands. There's so much success, the Wheel of Fortune. And I think you're ready for this new challenge, pile number 3. I think, you know, this is something that, again, it just feels much more aligned with you. It may not be the easiest path. Like I said, it might not happen right away, but it's like it's going to happen. And I think the more you can keep your heart in it and you can keep your head screwed on straight. And like I said, there might be a lot of details that have to be figured out. You might have to turn in a lot of applications or a lot of paperwork or, you know, you might have to like, if you're trying to manifest a new relationship, go on a few dates, but it's like, this is so possible. And I actually feel like your energy feels very alive as I tune into this. Like it feels like you kind of know what you want and you're excited about it. You know, it feels like a very positive feeling of like being turned on and tuned in and turned on and like just ready to go, just activated. Let's get into these cards. What messages do we have for pile number 3, Spirit? Okay, this one says, hidden worlds, changing consciousness, awareness, extrasensory perception. Okay. Spirit of spring, freedom, action, power. Light dancer, illumination, the radiant self, shining soul. This one is full moon temple, celebration, peak, transcendent moment. Let's get a couple more cards for you. Pile number 3. The mirror, other lives, past lives, dimensional lives. Let's get one final card for pile number. The crystal path, mineral spirits, crystal beings. Okay. Wow. So I feel like, yeah, you're stepping into your freedom. It's perfect that you got the spirit of spring because that's what it really feels like. It feels like we're leaving winter energy and we're kind of becoming alive. We're kind of, you know, like I always think in very seasonal places, the feeling of spring and summer, like the feeling of the greenery that suddenly pops up everywhere, how the air is light, how everything is in bloom. Like there's nothing that compares to it. It's the most joyful explosion of life you can ever imagine. And I feel like that's what's happening for you. This is kind of a peak moment. We got the full moon. That's a peak of energy. And this is like you're peaking, you know, you're starting to really reach your highest heights that you possibly could. Whatever you're leaving behind, it feels like you tried to make it work. It feels like you were pushing yourself for a while. And I feel like Spirit also wants you to know it's almost like you've done everything you can. You know, you don't need to keep rehashing it or feeling guilty or feeling weird about it, because you've done a lot. And it's time for you to step into this destiny. And yeah, it may feel scary, but I feel like it's leading you somewhere, maybe even very destined, maybe from your past lives or deep in your subconscious, leading you somewhere that is very sanctified, very called upon, very destined, predestined. And I feel like with this new journey, like I said, it feels like it's just much more you. Like you're really allowing yourself to be your truest self and to step into your destiny instead of staying stuck in what was comfortable or what was you were used to it, you know? I feel like this new life for you is just so much more fulfilling and much more you being capable of being yourself and really living your dreams. Let me get into these message cards to end this reading on for pile number 3, Spirit. What message cards do we have for pile 3? So we have resilient, stay as strong as evergreen trees. Woods, be like the woods, calm, soothing, mysterious, and full of life. Adventure, wow, you've gotten adventure so many times now. Live wild and free. Kindness, take respite by a pond and be kind to yourself and others. Let's get 2 more message cards. Wish, make a wish with a dandelion in the wind. And grounded, keep to your roots and stand taller than the trees. So yeah, I love this adventure. You've gotten it so many times that this is like the beginning of a brand new adventure of your life. I also feel like this wish card is really sticking out to me, where it's like the world is your oyster right now. Pile number 3, you really feel like you can do whatever you want. Like everything is open to you right now. It feels like whatever you want, you can make happen, and you're going to make happen. So like I said, make sure that you have your eyes on the prize. Make sure that whatever you're manifesting and whatever you're allowing in your mind is heading towards the right direction. Because I don't even think you know what a strong, powerful manifester you are. And you're capable of getting exactly what you want. So you might as well ask for it. You know, you might as well say, like, that's what I want. Like, again, that's what I noticed, not to like put too fine a point and obsess over it, but like that's what I noticed with a lot of the Disney kids is so many of them will say like, oh, I was an only child. Or like, even she's not a Disney kid, but like Taylor Swift, she had parents who were like fully behind her and were like, yeah, let's sell our house and move down to Nashville. And they have parents a lot of times where like they're an only child and their parents will do anything, and they say they want to sing or they want to act, so their parents put them in acting classes and to start taking them to auditions. So they develop this like mental architecture that like, I'm special, I'm important, I'm different, because their parents spend so much time doting on them. And it's literally such an advantage to have. Because a lot of people have parents where they say, oh, I want to become an actor. And their parents aren't going to be like, oh, I'm dropping everything and moving to LA. And sometimes it's like rightfully so. Sometimes you have other siblings. Sometimes your parents don't have that much money or they have other things on their mind. But what you see with the Disney kids, like I think even Zendaya, she lived in like the Bay Area. And so one of her parents would drive her down like every week for auditions in LA, which is like a crazy long drive. I've driven that drive and it's like 5 hours at least, I want to say, maybe more. And it's on the I-5, I think, which is like really not a lot of fun to drive on, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, so the point is, they had parents who were like totally willing to make these people the center of their lives, these children the center of their lives. I think Olivia Rodrigo was an only child. I think Sabrina Carpenter was in like Pennsylvania, and her parents moved to LA because she said she wanted to get into like musical theater or something. Zendaya was in San Francisco and they would drive down. Selena Gomez was in Texas. They moved to LA. Like every time they had parents, a lot of times they were only children. A lot of times their parents would do whatever it took to get them success. And it's funny because I think this energy follows them around for life, right? Like they always have this attitude of like, oh, I want to get into singing. Okay, I'm going to get into singing. They don't even doubt or question. There's no part of their brain that turns on that's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't ask that. And so many of us have parents who, like, we say, oh, mom, I want a new toy car, or I want to pick up soccer and play it more. And they'll say like, well, you have 3 siblings, or you have, well, your sister got this, or well, we don't have time to take you to soccer, and your brother already has hockey that day. You know what I mean? So a lot of us start this kind of like early on, this energy of just putting ourselves in the back seat. Or even if you're an only child, it's like maybe your parents, they'd rather drop you off at daycare and they don't really care that much. And it's like, so many of us, we just don't have this internal scaffolding of like assuming we can get what we want, assuming that of course it should be mine and why shouldn't I have it? And instead we might feel that spark of desire for something. We feel that like, oh, I'd love a new apartment that's like really roomy and spacious. And instead of just being like, yeah, I should get one, we go into like, yeah, but like lots of people want apartments, and like, I don't think I have the money, and yeah, but if I get that, then I'd have to apply and it's going to be really hard. I probably won't get it anyway. And a lot of that is like from lifetimes of being told no by our parents early on, or, you know, being told by teachers like, get back in line and you're not the center of attention in class and be quiet. And so we kind of learn to like push down on ourselves. Like I think I'll never forget that I think Olivia Rodrigo said she was an only child. She was like she was homeschooled. She was an only child as well, but she was homeschooled. So she never had a teacher telling her like, be quiet and just sit in the back of class and don't talk. And honestly, that like goes into your nervous system. That goes into how your brain thinks. That goes into like how you view yourself and what you see as your options. And so a lot of us didn't have parents who were like going to fight for us for everything and we could have what we wanted. And if we said, hey, I'd like this Christmas gift, they'd say like, okay. Instead we'd get a lecture on like money doesn't grow on trees and money's hard to make. And what do you think we can't afford this. So we get into that into our mind of like, oh, I'm not going to ask. Oh, I don't want people to think I'm like arrogant if I say I should be the singer, if I say I should be an actress. I mean, who am I to think that? So we start like putting ourselves in secondary mode, not to mention how many parents are like weird narcissists and they actually don't want their child to succeed, you know, and deep down inside, they get threatened by like their child being the center of attention or whatever. Like a lot of people have parents like that. No one wants to talk about it, but it's not uncommon. And even when a parent is doing their best, sometimes they just don't have the money, they don't have the resources. Anyway, all that to be said, I'm not trying to like harp on parents, but what I'm trying to say is one of the most powerful things you can unlearn is this centering of other people and this putting yourself in the back seat. And what you can realize is the biggest, again, not to obsess over this, but the biggest Disney stars or the biggest celebrities are always the one that are like really self-centered, audacious. They think they should be the star. And there are plenty of other Disney stars that come and go. And a lot of times it's those ones that are like, oh yeah, no, I mean, I act, but I can't sing. No, I shouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to take, yeah, I'd love to sing, but like, I'm not that good at it. So I'm not going to take acting class. I'm not going to take singing classes. I'm just going to, and then they fall off by the wayside. And it's the ones that are like, I like to sing. I'm going to start a singing career. I'm going to hire the best producers and the best writers that make it happen for themselves. And all of us can adopt that same energy because you have to kind of wonder, what came first? Like, yes, to a certain extent, it's the Disney career alone propping them up, but it's also the energy, it's the attitude, it's the assumption of excellence, it's the assumption of like, I'm the center of the universe and I deserve the world. On the same thing, the person I brought up at the beginning, Eileen Gu, she's an only child with a mom who like just invested so much in her and she was like the star. I think her mom either had her via IVF or like the dad's not in the picture at all. And the mom was like very intentional about how she wanted to raise her. A lot of times, like that is how you build a superstar. Like you make that person the center of your world. And a lot of us, and I don't mean to like dwell on like parents or anything, but my point is we retain the programming. We don't put ourselves first. We don't think about what benefits me. We don't think about what do I want? What's my dream? Okay, I deserve to make it happen. Instead, we always like filter ourselves through a lens of like, oh, I should be smaller. Well, that would be cringe if I ask for that. We get so programmed by parents and then in school by teachers and then by other kids who like tease us because who are you to get the lead in the school play, right? And so we start putting ourselves on the back burner to make everyone else happy. And it's really important to like undo that programming. And I feel like that's what you're going to do. But I also feel like you need to really push yourself on this because it's almost like pile 3. You're so close to grabbing it. You're so close to having what you want, but you have to like fully go for it. You have to fully commit and get this and not let anyone else take it away from you. You know, you can't talk yourself out of it or be like, no, that's maybe too much to ask for. It is not too much to ask for, and you do deserve it. And the winner is going to be the one who takes it all. You know, the winner is going to be the one who gets the prize, and maybe it should be you. So yeah, you should start manifesting that and knowing you deserve it, because I feel like what I'm getting in your nervous system is just like, you don't really fully think you deserve it. There's a part of you that's like, I want that, but you don't think you deserve it. You don't think you should have it. And I love Abraham Hicks talks about this, where like you should even, if you even think that such a phrase as someone deserves it, that's not even real, because the universe has endless abundance. So you don't have to earn it. You just get it. You don't have to be good enough. You don't have to be exceptional. You just get it. Right? And again, Abraham Hicks has amazing meditations about following that spark of desire. And that's what I'm saying is like we get it trained out of ourselves that we can't follow a spark of desire, that like you should overthink it and how dare you ask and who do you think you are? And soon that spark of desire is long gone, replaced with like overthinking and shame and questioning ourselves. And I'm not good enough, or I can't make it happen, or I'm not lucky enough. And that's where it gets away from us. And that spark is so valuable. That's what we need to follow. So yeah, I feel like you are being presented right now with an amazing choice to go after what you really want, what your heart wants, what your soul wants. And I feel like Spirit is just saying, it's time to push into this. It's time to lean into this and really allow yourself to have what you want, because this is your pivotal, beautiful time in life, pile number 3. Don't let it run away from you. Don't let it just slip by. And next thing you know, you're complacent in life and you're doing what you don't want to do. And oh, well, no, you need to take this by the reins and freaking make it happen. So that is what I have for you, pile number 3. I really hope that resonates, guys. If it does, let me know in the comments. I know I went on a little off-topic rant, which sometimes people get mad at me for, about the Disney kids, but really, I think we can all learn. I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying, pay attention, because once you notice this personality type, and I noticed it so many times in LA, of the like people who had a little bit of fame or the people who were successful, they were all like very self-obsessed and like into themselves. And you know what? Maybe we should all be a little bit that way. It's not always a bad thing, you know, if you're not doing it in like a gross way that preys on other people, of course. But anyway, so I hope it resonated. I hope it made sense. Let me know if it did in the comments. I always love to hear from you guys. And make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my content, then be sure to head to my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading all about what your boss and coworkers think of you. There's also a reading about what people think of your relationship. But there is so much content to choose from, and new readings go up every day. Like I said, over 150 exclusive readings. And then you also get to be the first to watch all my YouTube videos. So if that sounds good to you, then head to my Patreon. The link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And if you would like to see more of, or if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a time slot with me, whether you want it to be a quick 30-minute reading, a full hour-length reading, whether you want it to be pre-recorded or live. You get to really customize your time with me, so it's the perfect reading for you. If that sounds good, then head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a session with me. So that's about all I have to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, Pal 4, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Will o' the Wisp, Treasures Hidden in the Shadows, Lay of the Land, Ancestral Wisdom, and Perfect Storm, The Courage to Step into Life, and Moon Maiden, New Beginnings. So the first thing I'm getting is there might be a solution to a question or dilemma you have that you might not be expecting. Like, I feel like this is something you might have to like probe a little bit further. I feel like with Will o' the Wisp, it's like there's something here that you're not expecting. It's almost like one of those situations where like once you see it, you're going to be like, how did I not see this before? Kind of like when you're searching for something and you're like, okay, I've looked through this area, I've looked through that area, like it's just not here. And then like, I don't know, you move a pillow or you look under the table and you're like, oh my God, it was there the whole time. Like it wasn't even that hard to find. And I feel like there's something in your life where that's somehow an answer to a question you have. Like if you've been like, what do I do for my career? It's like maybe it's something really obvious that you've been so good at. And once you see it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, why didn't I do this earlier? Like it's almost like whatever it is, this feels very easy. You know, it feels like there's something where you've been trying to go about it the hard way, or you keep expecting it to be hard. And maybe you feel like you have to be perfect. And it's like, if you just do this little easier route that maybe has been right under your nose the whole time, you're going to be like, oh my God, like that's actually really easy. And again, I almost feel like it's also giving yourself that permission. You know, I think sometimes like I know for me, for example, it's been very healing for me because I am a perfectionist to have this YouTube channel because like the readings are so long, they're like 2 hours, you know, or so, that like I can't go back and edit everything. I can't go back and be a perfectionist. I know if I had like small videos that were like 10 minutes long, I would be editing out every breath, every like probably overthinking about like, why did I share that? Why did I tell that story? Let me edit that out. And I feel like my videos would be so much more like not me because I would be worried about like being judged or maybe that's too awkward or that's too long. And I'm really glad with the format of YouTube that like I just can't do that with these tarot videos. So I've had to like just learn to post and just like kind of give it to God, like, oh well. And the funny thing about that is so many videos that I have filmed where I've been like, that one sucked. I think that was so bad and no one's gonna like that one. It was too specific. It was weird. Why did this come up? Maybe I should just delete that whole video, are like some of my most popular ones. And some of the videos where I've been like, that one was amazing. That one was so good. I really channeled and I think I said everything perfect. And then it's like, no one really cares about those. And you know what? I feel like that's actually such confirmation because it's like, I know for me, I've definitely questioned like, this isn't good enough, or I have to be in the right mood to do this, or maybe, you know, like I feel like that's such a human thing to do as well. Spirit is putting into my mind how I love this song that Grimes did called Reality, and I specifically love an earlier version she posted. She has a version on this album she did that's like way more edited and way more in line with what the album turned out to be, very like glossy and stylized. And I like this very unedited early rough version she did that she later was like, oh yeah, I just released it because I had to put out something for like a tour montage I wanted to do and I wanted a song, so I just put this song of it. And the heartbreaking thing about it is she had a whole entire album that is apparently aligned with that song, Reality. And she said she just decided she hated the album and she deleted it. Now that's my favorite thing that she's ever done. I love that song the most out of all her discography. And to me, I am so heartbroken that she's not going to release her album. And to be honest with you, I didn't love the highly stylized glossy version that she ultimately put out. And I was thinking about that like so many artists will go on later and say they hate their most popular song, or like, oh, their most popular novel wasn't really them, or it was an earlier version of them. And then I've also been on the other side where I've seen like a writer I really like, and they're like, okay, now I put out, this is the best book I've ever done, and you guys are gonna absolutely love it. Or this is the best movie, or this is the best album. I'm finally the most proud of this. And it's like, they release it and everyone's like, this kind of sucks. No one likes it. And I think that's actually really, really reassuring to know that like we're not the best judge or arbiter of what we think of ourselves. So you might as well just like go for it and do what you want and put it out there. You know, you might as well show up tired. You might as well show up and be like, sorry, I think this isn't perfect, but here's what I have, and like give it your best shot. And a lot of times you'll be surprised because maybe someone's looking for exactly you. Like, again, I notice the videos that I'm like, I think this one was bad. maybe those were filmed on days when I was in a bad mood or I was tired, or I'm thinking of like when I was filming it, I got interrupted halfway through, or, this was happening, or I was rushing. And so it's like I have all these things going into my mind that's affecting my perception of that video. So I can't really judge it totally impartially. And other people are like way more better judges of that video because they're watching it from a fresh, clean slate. And that's the thing is like, I think we can be the harshest on ourselves, or we feel like we have to show up in a certain way. I also think that that's my conspiracy theory with Ozempic is like, there are people, I get it, that like went on Ozempic because it's, a big trend. But there are people who like needed to lose a lot of weight and they were like morbidly obese. And in that case, it seems like it's an amazing thing for getting them back to health. But I've also seen people who like used it to lose weight that they really didn't need to lose, like someone who's already pretty slim, and then they use it to lose like 20 pounds. And a lot of times those people will be like so excited that they lost the weight. And I'm of two minds. On one hand, I feel like to me, objectively, sometimes they would look worse. Maybe now they look underweight and not as healthy. But on the other hand, those people seem really happy. And they also were like finally wearing the clothes they wanted to wear. And now they're dating again. And they're finally brave enough to like put themselves out there and wear the skimpy outfit that they want or wear the bikini. And I think like, okay, I thought you looked better before, if I'm going to be totally honest. Like, to me personally, like maybe I thought you looked healthier, when you were the normal weight category and not underweight. But at the same time, I also think it's like, wow, what a mindset shift. You can see that now they are confident in their body and now they're happy to wear whatever clothes. And maybe now they're finally dating again because they feel so confident. And I was thinking that like, in a weird way, I wonder how much we as a culture, because we definitely do value thinness in our culture, and not to turn it into like a body positivity lecture, but I was thinking about like how much that's cost so many of us, right? Like so many people who might be completely beautiful, and even they might be like not overweight at all, but they might question themselves like, oh, I shouldn't wear that bikini, I look really bad. Or there's like young people who are talking about like, I need to get a facelift, I'm 27, I can already see my face sagging, and like I need to go get plastic surgery, or I need to get Botox, or I need to get lip filler. And it's like, to an objective outsider, it might be like, no, you looked really beautiful before. And I was thinking like how much that like these weird sometimes beauty standards have robbed all of us of like our ability to live life to the fullest, right? And how many of us, we have these weird internal critics in our mind telling us like, no, you shouldn't do that. Or, no, you're not thin enough to wear that. Or everyone's staring at you and they all think you look horrible in that dress. Or like, you know what I mean? You need to go get Botox immediately. Your face is sagging. You just turned 24 and you look awful, And anyway, I'm not trying to turn it into like some body positivity thing, but more like saying sometimes it's like we're limiting ourselves. We're keeping ourselves in a prison. We keep telling ourselves it's not good enough. Again, I feel like with YouTube, because I made the mistake early on of like going a month without posting, and the algorithm like totally hated me after. So now I always put pressure on myself. I know I haven't been posting as much lately, but that's really out of my control, to be honest, because it's just like life schedules. But as much as possible, I try to post regularly. And so that's the thing is like, there are so many videos I probably would have never posted because I would have been like, no, it's really bad. And I would have overthought it. In a way, again, it's a good thing that the videos are so damn long. They're like 2 hours long that I'm like, I don't want to get rid of like 2 hours of work. And I just like end up posting stuff. And then half the time, the thing that I was nervous or self-conscious or I thought was awful, people love. And then the thing that I was like, this one is amazing, it's the best, people are like, meh, it's not that good. And again, I actually feel like that's so comforting. It's so comforting to know that you don't even know, you're not the best judge, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what people think, you don't know what's in their head. And so you might as well just live your freaking best life and do what the heck you want and put it all out there and let other people decide. And by the same token, you might as well be like, okay, let me wear this bikini, or let me wear this outfit, or let me go dating. Or maybe you've been putting something off like, I don't want to date right now, I need to lose 30 pounds first. And there might be a guy out there who's absolutely gonna freaking love your curves, and he's literally looking for someone your size, and he's looking for someone with your body shape, and it's a turn on to him. And it's like, he wants that, and you're keeping yourself inside, and you don't want to do so like online dating because you're afraid of what people are going to think, when there would be some guy that would see you as is and be like, exactly what I want, that's perfectly my type, you know. And yeah, I think that goes for everything, not just dating, like your job, whatever. Like, just do it when you're tired, do it when you don't have that much work experience. Just put yourself out there as much as you freaking can, and then let the market decide. And maybe no one want to hire you or date you or be with you or be your friend, but it's like, if you're putting yourself out there, then that's all you can do, and then the universe can do the rest. So anyway, I hope I'm making sense, but I'm just trying to say, I think sometimes you have to just accept that you're never going to have complete control. So you might as well just be as honest, be as real, put yourself out there as much as possible. And when you do that, letting spirit like take the rest over. Let me clear these cards and get into some tarot for you guys. Okay, so we have, what cards are we going to get for pile number 3? So we have 4, excuse me, the 9 of Wands, the 5 of Cups. Okay, we have the 2 of Swords reversed, and the Chariot reversed. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it does feel like there's some kind of a blockage happening here. You know, the 2 of Swords can be overthinking and being like, I don't know what to do. And then the Chariot can just be like not taking action at all. So with those cards coming out right next to each other, it does feel like I said, you're in that mode of like feeling like you have to be perfect, feeling like you have to be good enough, feeling like nothing you do is right, or my life will start when I'm this size, or when I have this on my resume, that's when I can apply to jobs, or when I have this amount of money, or when I have this lined up for myself, or once I have this friend, then I can get more friends, or like that's when I can go out. And it's like, what if you just started doing it now? What if you just started pushing yourself out of your comfort zone? What if you just accepted that you're good enough as is, and you stopped directing this energy towards self-perception and self-criticism, and started directing it towards, what do I want? And instead of letting your brain rehash like, yeah, and my hips are too big, and like my arms, or my job, like I don't have that on my resume, and so it's really a problem, and I need to go back to school, or I'm not earning enough, but I don't know, I'm not that smart. And you started just paying attention to what spirit showed you, and allowing yourself to dream and go after what you want. You know, one of the most powerful things that like what's Abraham Hicks is always talking about is like, there is no such thing as deserve. Because so many people will go to her like sessions and say, you know, I'm working on thinking that I deserve money, but it's really hard for me because deep down I don't think I deserve it. And she'll be like, what's deserve? You don't need to deserve it. You don't need to earn it. And that's the block. That's why you're not able to manifest money, because you keep thinking deserve, and that's a negative word. You keep like, even the fact that you're using the language deserve shows that you're constantly weighing yourself on a scale, wondering if you're good enough, that you think you have to be good enough to make money happen, or you have to be good enough to get love, or you have to be good enough to have whatever you want. I mean, not to be like judgmental, but again, a lot of women are like on Ozempic to lose weight so that they can find like their ideal boyfriend. And all you have to do is watch an episode of like My 600-Pound Life. And those women have been like mopping their folds and cleaning up for them and bringing them like all their food every day, like multiple meals, like taking care of them, paying all the bills. You know what I mean? And there are plenty of couples out there in the real world where like the woman isn't perfect and the man is obsessed. And again, it's all about shifting your mindset. Like maybe at some point in time you internalize the message that you have to be perfect, or you have to be good enough, and that only like the beautiful girl deserves a relationship. And it's like, totally doesn't work that way, unfortunately. I mean, in some ways, hey, I wish it was like this perfect universe and all the supermodels were happily married and none of them ever got cheated on. That would make more sense. But unfortunately, we know that like Halle Berry's been cheated on, and Giselle Bündchen, like Tom Brady refused to like, when she's a freaking supermodel, and he wouldn't like stop working for her, and she left him because he was just so focused on his football career, and he like didn't care about her and their family. You know what I mean? Like even the supermodel women are getting dogged out. So that's my point. It's like, there is no perfect. There is no like good enough that's going to protect you from everything. And knowing that, just put yourself out there and stop overthinking and stop worrying about like, how can I be perfect, and start worrying about, what do I want? It's like when you have that mentality of, do I deserve it? Am I good enough? Am I perfect enough? You are focusing your energy inward. You're focusing your energy on judging yourself when you should be focusing it outward and judging, do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want this person? Do I want that person? And literally no energy should be directed towards like, yeah, he's cute, but my hair isn't good enough. And like, I don't know, I have too much weight on me, or I'm too skinny, or I'm this, whatever. Like, you should just be focusing on like, do I like him? That's what you should be thinking about after a date. When you get a job opportunity, do I want to do that? Is that something I would like? And this should be your mentality that you carry through life. It's just focusing outward, not paying attention to yourself, but focusing on what's going to actually make me happy, because I get it all. I deserve it all. And once you fully integrate into that and know that, then things start falling into your lap. Let me get some more tarot cards for you. Pile number 4. What kind of message does pile 4 need to hear, Spirit? So we have lots of reversals for you guys. 9 of Cups reversed, okay? The Death card, okay? The King of Pentacles. The Devil card. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the 6 of Wands and the World card reversed. So like I said, you guys are getting a lot of reversals. Like the World is reversed. So it's like you're not completing what you need to do. And with the Chariot, you're not even working on it. You're not getting after it. You know, with the 9 of Cups, you might not be happy right now. And I do feel like with that Devil card coming out, it's telling you like a lot of this is because of your ingrained thinking, your ingrained traumas, how you have a pattern of looking at the world, you know, maybe being pessimistic, maybe feeling like with this King of Pentacles that you have to be so perfect or you have to be good enough, or with the 6 of Wands, worrying about what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say. And that's honestly one of the most trapping things in the world. So many people have stayed in bad relationships, bad marriages because they're afraid of what other people think. So many people have not gone after a dream because they're afraid of other people judging them. So they never started that band, or they never moved to Hollywood to be an actor, or they never started that business. Or they are worried about like, yeah, but if I start that entrepreneurial business, then I have to lose my job and then I won't be able to pay rent and everyone will be making fun of me. Someone was talking about this on TikTok. There was some lawyer and she was talking about how she handles people going through bankruptcy. And she was saying there are so many people who are so afraid of declaring bankruptcy. And she said, you know, it's funny because a lot of wealthy people declare bankruptcy a lot. And that's something I noticed. A few years ago, I was actually talking with a lawyer friend of mine and kind of about this like possible investment thing that I was thinking of doing. And I said to them, yeah, but like, you know, and then what if like I lose all the money and I have to declare bankruptcy? And I was kind of saying it jokingly, but they were like, yeah, then you declare bankruptcy. Or I said it, I don't even think I said, what if I have to declare bankruptcy? I think I said, yeah, but like, what if I lose all the money? And they were like, oh, then just declare bankruptcy. And I was like, yeah, that's funny. And they were like, no, seriously, just declare bankruptcy. It happens all the time. Like people do it 24/7 and like rich people do it all the freaking time. And at first I thought they were joking, but like they were so serious about it. And then I was like, you know, they're kind of right. Actually, didn't Donald Trump declare bankruptcy like twice or 3 times? And like a lot of billionaires will do that. Like it's almost like their get out of jail free card is like, just declare bankruptcy and all the debts get erased. And like, they actually, when you look at millionaires and billionaires, they do it all the freaking time, right? And that's because none of them are like embarrassed about their money situation, you know? I think I read something that Donald Trump had said in like his book, The Art of the Deal. And he said one time that he was walking past a homeless guy and he was with his daughter, Ivanka, I think. Ivanka, I think her name's Ivanka. So he was walking with her in New York City. They passed a homeless guy and he said something like, see that homeless guy over there laying on the ground or whatever. And he said, he has more money than me. And his point was, because they were still living in like the Trump penthouse or whatever it is at the time, but his point was is that he was at that point $200 million in debt. And of course the homeless guy had nothing, but nothing is still better than negative 200 million. And it's funny because he doesn't really care. Like, he's like writing about it in his book. It's a funny anecdote to him. And that's the thing. So many of us would be so embarrassed to be like $5,000 in debt, to be $1,000 in debt, to be $30 in debt, to have $30 overdrawn on our checking account, nothing else. We'd be like humiliated. But it's like someone else is 200 million in debt and they don't care. And that person ends up being a billionaire because they don't care. Because not caring about that, not caring about public perception is like a superpower. And it holds so many people back from doing what they need to do and like filing bankruptcy, even if that's financially a good thing for them because they're so terrified of what other people are going to say. Or one of my biggest pet peeves is like, I've heard so many stories of like parents calling the cops on like their teenage kids because the teenage kid did something stupid. Like, for example, the teenage kid, I don't know, robs candy from a candy store, or, like steals a bar of candy from a gas station. And the parent finds out and like calls the police on the kid to like teach them a lesson, which I'm like, okay, and now that child is in the legal system for life, like in the US, like they're gonna have it on their record permanently. Like, to me, as someone who has experience in law, that's absolutely insane. And I honestly have a theory that a lot of the parents who do that, they go to church and they're thinking about what's going to play well at church. They want to post about it on social media. They're embarrassed that they have a child that would steal the candy, and they're worried about like their reputation, someone finding out. So they take this big moment to like scold their child in front of everyone and call the police. And they're worried about what the police are going to think of them, not worried about the actual well-being of their child and like their child's future, and having a criminal record at the age of like 16, which is a big freaking deal. Anyway, I don't think it's good parenting. That's my unpopular opinion. I think good parenting is like prioritizing your child. And obviously if someone like committed a violent crime, I'm not saying you should, not turn them in for that. But if it's like they stole something tiny from Target, I think it's really kind of gross to turn them in. That's my personal opinion, because teens make mistakes. Anyway, and I'm not saying you shouldn't scold them or give them a talk or be like, hey, this was bad. I'm just saying when you involve the police, especially in America, like, to me, that's crazy to make a personal record of something like that for your child. But again, a lot of these people are motivated by like, what are my church group going to say? What's the public going to say? They want to share it on social media and get acclaim. They want people to give them clicks. They want to be able to tell this story like at their church group, like they're so enlightened, and have all the boomers around them applaud. You know what I mean? And anyway, all that to be said is like they will literally sacrifice their kids on this altar to get the approval of like their social group, to have all the other boomers around them being like, yes, you taught them such a good lesson. And if they had to go to jail, oh well, Anyway, my point on all that is the chasing of public clout, the chasing of what your social group will approve of, the chasing of what someone else thinks of you is literally one of the stupidest things you can ever, ever, ever do. And when you build your foundation on it, you will literally be miserable. Like, there's no route to happiness when you're worried about what other people think, because honestly, happiness is like having a life that works for you. Happiness is like having a lake house that you freaking love and you get to like sit and listen to the cicadas. Happiness is having a beautiful family around you. Happiness is having money and financial success and peace. Happiness is like being with people that you really love. Happiness is having a kind of public call, like a calling of some kind, whether it's like you really wanted to write a book and now you're writing a book, or you have a career that you love. It's an inside thing. It's not something that comes from like other people's opinions or judgments. And so my point in all that is, if there's something you've been wanting to do and you've been thinking or letting yourself be held back by what other people have to say in any way, that's definitely something to kind of unpack and work on, because that is going to hold you back more than anything else from really reaching your destiny and accomplishing and living the life that you're meant to live. You have to really start unpacking, like, what is it I want out of this life, and then allowing yourself to get after it. Because again, like I said, so many people in the world are just judgmental. So many people are going to make fun of you when you say you want to be an actor, or when you say you want to start a TikTok account, or when you want to say you want to start a YouTube, or that you are breaking up with your husband, or that you are moving to a new country, or whatever. Like, people are going to judge you about absolutely everything. And so that's why it's really important not to let it seep into your mind. So you guys got Aurora Garden. I love the name Aurora. Beginning, initiate, origin. Let's see. I heard Aurora is like one of the most popular names for babies, which is so wild to me. It's such a beautiful name, so I totally get it. Also, people have pointed out, and it's true, this one is full moon temple, celebration, peak, transcendent moment, light dancer, illumination, the radiant self, shining soul. People have pointed out that like Aurora is the name of Sleeping Beauty, which is like tied to like Briar Rose, and I don't know. I think that's cool because it's true. But I love the name Aurora. It's so beautiful. Let's see. Insight, magical tools, writing, star crafting, temple of dreams, sacred dreams, properties, dream journeys, and the gathering, community, kinship, companionship. So, you know, what came to my mind as we pulled this Temple of Dreams card is like, you know, in your dreams you're alone, right? And all of us, we enter this world, well, with our mom, but we leave this world alone no matter what. And that's why, like, if you think about it, you know, at the end of your life, you're never going to be worrying about like what some random guy at your workplace thought of you or what some random friend from high school thought of you. And yet so many of us let us hold ourselves back from that. We would want to make a YouTube account. We would want to make a TikTok. We would want to wear that dress or try to get that job or do that thing or put ourselves out there on online dating. But it's like this fear of rejection. And it's this fear of what do these people think, even though we don't really care about them at all, even though we probably, you know, don't respect them that much. Like, so many of us will let it bother us if we go on a bad date and someone's like disrespectful to us or rude to us, you know? Like I remember it used to really bother me if I was on a date with a guy and I felt like he was disrespectful. That's why I thought it was so funny when I went on a date with that guy in LA and he was a douche and this random guy came up to him and was like, "What are you two doing together? A girl like that would never date a guy like you." And I just thought, that was the weirdest thing ever. And I'm like, I know my guides must have sent that guy because what are the odds of some random old man coming up to our table and telling this guy that he looks so beneath me and he looks like he's totally like I'm out of his league. Like, I don't know. I was just like, my guides must have arranged that one just to remind me because it is a degrading experience. And a lot of us do internalize that. Like someone's rude or disrespectful to us on a date and we think like there must be something wrong with me. If I was prettier, if I was cuter, then this guy wouldn't be treating me like that. Or, you know, we go through and have a negative experience during a job interview and someone's kind of like disrespectful to us and talks down to us and we leave feeling like shit and we go through it in our car like, well, I should have said this. Well, you know, they don't know any, and it's like that person truly does not fucking matter. They will get whatever karma is coming to them. And what pisses me off when I think about that date, as funny as it was that this random old man came up to our table and sat down and started talking to us and saying all this stuff, as funny as that is, and as much as it is validating that he said that, I remember I went home and I deleted the dating apps because I was like, God, that guy was such a jerk and he didn't look like his pictures. And why am I online dating? And, you know, there's just no point in any of this. And that was a sign. And I honestly look back now and I think that was not a sign of anything other than this guy was a little dweeb, probably did know that I was out of his league, wanted to be disrespectful on purpose, wanted to get into my head. And unfortunately, it clearly worked because I was the one who deleted the dating apps. I could have maybe found my soulmate, you know, like, I mean, I'm happily in a relationship now, so I'm not like looking at the, you know, I'm not that I wish it had gone down differently. In a way, it all worked out. But I also feel like at the same time, like I could have been in a happy relationship then. And instead I was single, you know, for longer because it was like I was not going to online date. And that's experience was kind of low key traumatizing, but it's like, why should it be traumatizing? If some little jerk wants to have a problem with you, oh well, who cares? Why internalize it at all? Why take it on? Why let it affect you? Why let it affect your life experience when some douche of a person, and I don't mean just in dating, I mean in jobs, there's always going to be antisocial people, and literally their goal is to convince you of your lack of worth. Literally, they are intimidated. I'm sure that he saw that I was a really good looking girl and out of his league. And so he was like, okay, let me be sarcastic, let me be rude, let me be a douche. A lot of guys will act that way when they're actually intimidated by a girl. People think like pretty privilege means like you walk through life and everything is given to you. No, sometimes it's like someone's being really mean to you because they're intimidated. And by the same token, you could be the most young person who has this dazzling presence to them, and they're very charismatic and they look like a star. And you could meet with someone who's in HR for like a really big important company, and you think they're going to love the fact that you're charismatic, and meanwhile that person wants to sabotage you and they don't want to give you the job because you threaten them, and their ego is wounded by your very presence of walking into that room, right? You think that like you're going to have a boss. I mean, Robert Greene talks about this a lot in the 60 Laws of Power or whatever it is, that he thought that he was going to go to his job and be the best person at his job, and that his boss would be so happy because he'd be like, oh my God, this guy's working so hard. He's doing so much work. He's doing an awesome job. Let me promote him. But every time the opposite would happen. He'd be doing a great job. He'd maybe outperform his boss, and the boss would get triggered and he'd get like fired or something. And that's why he decided to write that book, was because he realized that it's actually not about being the best. Half the time it's about walking over the ego of someone else and like accounting for that, right? And that's my point, is like half the time in life you're going to piss people off just by doing a good job, just by existing. And that's why you shouldn't take any stock into it. You should never let yourself get like traumatized after a date because someone treated you badly. Send that energy back to them and let it rush off your back. Like, please do not take it on, because that's letting that person win, or that toxic coworker, or that toxic friend that wants to make fun of you or mock you, or is always making little digs about you, or like making fun of your hair, or making fun of your appearance, or making little jokes about like you not dating anyone or whatever. That friend is a hater, and the last thing you should do is let them get inside your head and make you feel self-conscious in some way, or make you change anything, or make you like try to dress different, or whatever it is. You know, that person is just a hater. They're trying to get into your skin. They're trying to get into your head. And actually the most powerful thing you can do is individuate and stop allowing other people to influence your perception of self, and just take it as like, oh, they're an asshole. Okay, on to the next, you know? And like, that's the only mental energy you should be giving towards it, is like, that person's a total asshole. Okay. And so they'll get their karma. So anyway, as I was thinking and just like getting your mind to redirect, that is a huge skill. Because I know for me, I'm a sensitive water sign, Pisces, Cancer moon. I used to always like overthink and take it personal and be like, oh, maybe I should have said that. I should have said that. I should have said that. Maybe I did that wrong. And you know, maybe, and trying to get people to like me. And it's like, the thing is like, the more excellent you are, half the time, the more haters you're going to have, the more people are going to be mad about you. So if anything, take it as a freaking compliment and just keep it moving. If you are wanting to find a boyfriend and that's something you actually want for yourself as a life experience, because it is a nice life experience, like having relationships, falling in love, top tier human experience. So if that's something you want and you meet some guy on a dating app and he's acting like a douche, that should be nothing you internalize. You should just be like, okay, not for me, he's a douche. And now let me focus back on my actual future husband, my future boyfriend, and how great that's going to be. And like, let me help back on those dating apps to find the right one, because this one sure as hell wasn't it. And that should be the only thought you give to it. You should never let someone run you off, because half the time that's what dysfunctional people are trying to do. That's why they're trying to traumatize. That's why they're trying to hurt you. That's why they're trying to get under your skin, because they want you to question yourself. They want you to doubt yourself. That's why I say I truly believe my guides, angels, and ancestors on the other side sent this old man to come up to our table at a bar in Silver Lake, because I have never in my life been seated at a table with one other person and we're in conversation and clearly engaged in conversation, and had a random stranger plop themselves down next to us. And seriously, God bless him for doing that. Maybe he's intuitive and psychic, or maybe he's an actual angel and was directed towards our table. I don't know where this guy came from, and I've never had anything like that since. And he literally was like asking the guy questions, and then, long story short, basically said to the guy, well, I knew that she couldn't actually be your girlfriend because a guy like you who looks like you could never be with a girl like her. Said this to this man's face, like crazy level of audacity. I was like shocked. I didn't even know what to say. But I was like, okay, but he's actually accurate. And it's only in like the years since that date, like At first, I wrote it off as like, oh, just a crazy LA night, funny story. Now I'm like, no, I think my guide sent that guy because they were like, this is going to be something that gets under Briar's skin and hurts her little sensitive water sign heart. And that's not going to happen today. And that's one advice I wish I could give to like younger girls and all ages of people is just like how someone treats you is not indicative of your worth or your value. And a lot of times it's the opposite. The meaner they are, the nastier. That's why like a lot of times it's like the cute girl that gets bullied, or it's the really smart guy in class that gets teased and, you know, has the other guys mock him, or the guy that pulls a lot of girls and he's attractive and he has a bunch of haters after him. You know what I mean? It's the person who stands out. So once you realize that, you will never let these people get under your skin. And that's, I feel like the message, one of the messages Spirit is bringing through to you today is just like, make sure you have your own head on screwed on straight of like what you want. So you stop taking in that noise of what other people say about you, good or bad, because truly it is noise at the end of the day. The only thing you should be focusing on is like an outward projection of what do I want? What's going to make me happy? What's my dream? And how do I make that happen? How do I move towards it? How do I cherish and honor that spark of desire instead of going around it or away from it and trying to appease someone else that is going to have no status, no impact on my life other than that. That person, that hater, trust me, they're not going to give you a car because you sabotaged your time at that job. Or, you know, that girl who's rude to you or nasty to you, she's not going to like help you find a boyfriend. Or that guy who's rude to you on a date, he's not going to be like, and actually here's $1 million and hand it to you. Like, they're not going to have any influence on your life. So why do you want to appease them? Why do you want to get their approval? And that's something to honestly question. And once you free yourself from those shackles and stop caring about what anyone else has to say, that's when your life really allows itself to like grow into its full form and become what it's meant to be. So yeah, anyway, that's what I have for you, pile number 4. That's my little rant of the day. I hope it resonated, guys. Please let me know if it does. I am curious about how this one resonated for you guys. So please let me know. Some readings spark my curiosity more than others, and I would love to know if this landed or if you feel like it applies. If you have stories like this horrible date yourself, let me know. And make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my content, then be sure to head to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. There are over 150 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon. I just posted readings about what your boss and coworkers think of you, as well as what people think of your relationship. But there is so much content to choose from. I also post all my YouTube videos early over there, so you get to be the first to see them. If that sounds good to you, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you're looking for a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading, whether you want it to be focused on tarot, astrology, channeling, mediumship, a combination, you get to really customize your time with me, so it's the perfect reading for you. If that sounds good, then head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a time slot with me. So that's about all I have to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye.